Right then, so this week's Coronation streak, first full week of the year. What did we think of it? It was interesting. You were saying to me earlier because I like often will mention to you between the Wednesday and the Friday episode. Oh, I'm thinking such and such at the week so far. This is a really strong week, or this is kind of it started well and is going down. And you're like you don't come to a decision about it until you've talked about it, even, do you?
I honestly, it's difficult because I guess maybe I do, but I don't realise it. Because if the week's really boring, I definitely know. And if the week's really good, I definitely know. But most of the rest of the time, I'm just like, I don't know, it was Coronation Street. What do you want me to say?
It was what it was. I thought that I enjoyed this week, and it was interesting because I was looking on Facebook and online and that, and it feels like the general feeling of it wasn't so good this week. But I thought particularly Monday and Wednesday's episodes I really enjoyed. But I don't know whether I'm out on my own with that opinion, or whether there's anyone else that also appreciated it. But I honestly didn't find very much not to like on Monday and Wednesday. So today was more of an okay episode, I have to say, and I don't know whether everyone else agrees with that or whether they thought it was brilliant. I don't know, I'm going to tell you exactly why I think that later on. And we have got 7 stories to share with you, everybody, today.
Can I just ask you,
Oh.
You said to me that you didn't realise, or you tell me what you think of the weeks going along, but I said I'm never really sure until we do the podcast, to be honest. Wasn't it a bit of a giveaway when every week you say, what's your score? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm not sure.
I wonder whether it's to do with the fact that I do, a lot of the preparation for the podcast, and it's like, I know the podcast is coming, I get my notes in it, and I need to prepare what I'm going to say in my head, not, subconsciously. What am I going to say in all aspects of the podcast this week? And you just come and fly by the seat of your pants, don't you?
You're taking notes all week, and I'm not doing that, so it doesn't really...
Yeah.
I don't organise my thoughts.
No, well, we'll find out, won't you?
Sometimes I don't even know what's going on.
Well, we'll say. So, 7 stories. The first one I've made this even more alliterative than it was. We have got Roy's rabble-rousers riot regarding Ray's race to raise the place. We have got A Babes in Grace is back. I've got that story too. I don't know why I put that second. It's quite important. Evelyn leaving?
No.
She is not. Oh my gosh, Arthur, come back.
Give him half a chance.
Lonely.
Oh, lonely.
She's so lonely.
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 So lonely.
Leanne is alone in the flat this week, so sad. Robert Johnny. Oh no, I want to call this Jailbird Johnny, or Johnny Jailbird or something, because
Jailbird.
He is in the clink. He's got his 8 months now, hasn't he?
He'll get
Which, if you've listened to the predictions podcast before you've listened to this one, you'll find out I was right. I predicted that Johnny would be sent down, and we recorded this, Tuesday was it? And you said,
This is so frustrating, because this stupid thing, I'm so mad at you.
Why?
No, listen, this stupid predictions podcast, I had to write my predictions. I wrote them, and I was thinking about them on the 29th, 30th of December, and it's going to be the 9th of January when they get released, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, obviously, of course that's going to happen.
Never mind.
Or, what is she thinking, saying stuff like that? Because obviously...
We'll put a little, what's it called?
Disclaimer
before the podcast, if we remember to record. We've got a bit more of the Confessions of a Window Cleaner and a little bit more of the Hashers story. Have you found... I showed you after the episode what Confessions of a Window Cleaner was.
Don't know why you know that.
Right. I really actually enjoyed the Roy's rabble-rousers riot regarding Ray's race to raise the place at the beginning of the week, but a lot of people thought it was silly.
Is it like Nintendo and we have to call it by the exact full title every single time we refer to
we're not going to abbreviate it, are we, and call it that?
No.
So, there was a really kind of modern feeling meeting at the beginning of the week where they all had a TV internet link into the meeting that they can all go to. So they had Roy, Debbie, Ray, and Councillor Woman were debating the final, or making the final decisions about whether he could build this block of flats or not.
See, look, coronavirus has done a lot of bad things, but the worst thing it's done, in my opinion, apart from killing lots of people, is making it so you have no excuse for not going to things for the rest of time, eternal. I can't go to the meeting because I'm going to be... It's like, no, you have to zoom in.
I thought that you would say, what's made it bad is the expectation that you're absolutely fine with doing video calls when I mentioned that's what you would absolutely hate.
I don't want to be on video calls. Somebody tried to do... Like the other day, I had this guy at work who could have just emailed me, but no, he's like, can we set up a Zoom meeting? It's like, what's wrong with a phone call? Can't you phone me up anymore? Can nobody use the telephone?
That's so last decade.
And then he just moaned about his company to me for an hour, which was quite fun.
Anyway, so they've got this meeting going on where, and meanwhile, back in the street, we've got all the rabble rousers are getting the TV set up. Sally can't get the sound to work, and also we find out via Brian that Nuttall's Brewery is not a building of historic interest,
It's
so
even
they
got
can't
a
get it
fermentation
listed.
floor.
It doesn't mean anything. I thought there were some real funny bits on Monday's episode, and there was a bit towards the end of that scene where David kind of sneaks off when Sally's not looking, and the look on his face was quite amusing. So
He's a top lad, that one.
he is a top lad, and he said a top lad. Between all these intermittent sound drops and everything that Sally was getting, the viewers of the, back in the factory and everywhere, watch Debbie talking about all the socio-economic benefits that this new development will bring, how the world's changed, how Weatherfield needs to keep up with it.
We need to probably make it a bit more clear that the meeting is taking place in a physical sense and a virtual one.
Yeah, I thought I said that.
So Debbie and Ray and
Roy
and everyone are there, and everyone else is watching.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to say anything, or are they just
No.
spectating?
They're on mute.
And okay.
So Debbie says her bit, and then it's Roy's turn, and he gives this big impassioned speech about increased traffic through Salford and Manchester. I always love it when they mention Salford and Manchester, and because it shows that Weatherfield isn't just in its own little bubble. And he talks about the pollution, how all the local community will be decimated and broken up by this new building. I don't know quite where that comes from, but he says it will tear the heart out of Weatherfield without any anaesthetic.
Nice one.
Very nice.
Just like in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, basically.
Next minute, they'll be expecting us to eat monkey brains. The thing is, still, I can't remember if anybody did anything good this week. It will become apparent as you continue to talk through the plot. It still feels to me a bit like everyone's being a bunch of NIMBYs about this. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone apart from Debbie. She's the only one talking.
Debbie's like, let's just destroy everything. Do you know what I mean?
They said raise it to the ground. It was in the script this week, and I was like, yeah, raise.
Yeah, Ray, woo, 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 shout out.
So
and Ray's mum's like, that's why I called him that. I'm so pleased. You can't understand how pleased I am.
So I was quite surprised at how quickly they came to a decision about what they were going to do.
What you know later.
Well, when I was watching it, I was like, oh, next scene, they're going to tell us what they've decided. It was the same with Johnny in the court this week. It's like, oh, we'd have to wait until Monday to find out the verdict.
I was a bit suspicious when people make their minds up about things that are really important so fast.
Yeah, mate, I wonder whether that woman whose son Johnny ran over and then Scott beat up is giving the judge a backhander to make him make his verdict quick.
Well, why not? Look, I suggest, can I say, I think it would be a good way of getting a bit of a cash injection to our starved court system. Just let the judges have bribes.
So anyway, the panel has made its decision, and yes, they are granting the planning permission, and the people watching on can't believe it. Who's Ray got in his pocket now, they say. Debbie is dead chuffed with herself. Meanwhile, a bit later, Roy gets back to Underworld, and Sally
Underworld?
Underworld. Sally and Abby.
Underworld! Oh my god, petition to change it to Wonderworld, please.
Is that what they just make Wonder Bras?
Well, yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be a great way of
uplifting
the girls? Of, like, stealing, like, the goodwill that Wonder Bra instills in your mind. Wonderland.
Maybe.
Mind you, there'll be so many disappointed kids on the doorstep every now and then, turn up their parents.
I thought this is Michael Jackson's place.
You're thinking of Neverland.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
Can you imagine getting a little thing going, take your kids on a trip to Wonderland, and you turn up and it's a bunch of cynical old buggers making bras and Sarah walking around with a clipboard and Toya doing God knows what.
Better that than have Michael Jackson at the door going, come in, children. Anyway, they're pleased with Roy. They're proud of him for trying so hard. And then Sally gets this frantic phone call from David and it's like, Ray's done what? Well, what it is that David has been served an eviction letter. He needs to leave his house in 2 weeks. They're actually going to knock the houses down, they say. And I'm sitting there watching going, yeah, but they're not, are they? I was enjoying, this is probably this week is the most I've enjoyed this plot, I have to say. It feels like it's exciting and it's building up to something. In the back of my head I'm thinking it's not building up to the thing that I'm getting excited about it building up towards. But...
The thing is about it, it's so disappointing really, because they can't have any tours going through, and I know that there are buildings that overlook the set, so it's more difficult to hide, but there are fewer people around in general, so there should be. This would be the perfect time to like surreptitiously just knock down half of the street. If it were ever possible to do it with minimum amount of people noticing, now is the perfect time.
Yeah, I know, but anyway...
Well, we know it doesn't happen because of Coronation Street doing their Race to the Rovers thing, which... is it a spoiler? No, not really, because they showed it themselves, and everything there is intact, and there's something on the street, which I won't say because it is a spoiler, that physically changed about the street.
Oh, I wonder whether that's going to come into it.
Which hasn't happened in the show yet, so therefore up until the point that happens, the street is still as it is, and it can't, nothing's happened.
Yeah. So anyway, they all go round to the Rovers. What best thing to do in a crisis, but all crowd into the pub. Emma also is there. She says she's got an eviction notice for the salon flat. This week we kind of start to hear all the other people that are living round and find out that they're getting turfed out as well. David thinks Ray must have known what was going to happen because these letters landed on his doormat pretty darn quick after the verdict was given. And Sally says, yeah, we're not going to take this lying down. So we have Abby and Debbie having a bit of a standoff with Debbie and Ray in the street. Debbie is still, on the attempted road to redemption here, where she's saying, oh, Kevin, you should have accepted my offer of help last week. And Kevin just stomps off. He's not having any of it.
Kevin is the last person in the whole world to ever forgive anybody anything. He's such a grudge holder.
I know he is.
Such a grumpy git.
Kev the crank. And then she also has a go at Ray later as well. He says that you got to stop winding people up on purpose, Ray. You're not making any friends here. He needs to listen to that really, because he was only saying like a few months ago that the whole community is against me. Nobody comes around my bistro anymore. They all go off to speed dial. Well, you're making it worse for himself. But I think now the end is in sight for him. Yeah.
He's like, I'm the villain of the piece. Debbie have to be mean to everyone. It's in the script.
He knows that as soon as he gets, these diggers or wrecking balls or anything in, then he's won. And it's like, so tantalisingly close to him. He doesn't care who gets in the way.
It must be fun. I mean, I've never had the upper hand over anybody I've disliked in my life. So I can only imagine how megalomaniacal, is that a word, I would get if I was in any position of power over anybody I dislike. This is a good thing. I shouldn't be allowed. But if I was, imagine how much pleasure you'd take over these people. You've just been a thorn in your side, and they are snobby and a bit, what's the word, exclusive, you know what I mean? They're very insular on Coronation Street. So...
Yeah, that's what happens. They're all a bunch of inbreds, aren't they?
They counted their toes.
We also have a nice little scene with Abby and Tracy. We've seen so little of Tracy recently, but this was a nice little one where
she can't be in it because she's only got one kidney.
Yes. She says...
Is it hers got kidneys?
She's only got one kidney. She's got a Moroccan kidney.
And she's got a milk allergy.
No, that's Amy.
Oh, yeah.
She says that somebody needs to stop him, and Tracy says...
She's got the genes for a milk allergy, okay?
Yes.
That's just as bad.
Tracy says that her mum were great in a crisis, and Abby says it's time we're all a bit more Deirdre, and I'm sure that when whoever it was wrote that line, they were like, oh, the fans are going to like this.
Monday's episode was full of quotable moments, wasn't it?
It really was.
There was another bit that Sally said something, and I can't remember. I don't know if you've written it down.
Sally said a lot of things. I don't know. What do you remember what she said?
No, it was something.
Well, we'll see when we get there.
Aren't we good, everybody?
David shows Adam.
Sally definitely said some lines, Michael.
Everything. I think it was Monday's. Was it Monday's episode when? Or maybe it was Wednesday's. I can't remember when. Sally's talking on the phone to Tim about cooking his own tea or something.
Oh, yeah.
That was quite funny.
Oh, we should have written him down.
Oh, sorry. You've
rubbish at taking notes.
David goes to, because it was in this scene, wasn't it? David goes over to Adams, over to the lawyer's office to show him his contract.
Yes.
Which he agreed when he signed the house over to Ray.
Yes.
And Adam's like, well, yeah, did you actually read it, David? It's like, oh, my wife. She was going bonkers. I had more to worry about. And it looks like that, there was... In the fine print, it says that Ray is perfectly entitled to kick him out as long as he provides him with alternative accommodation.
Look,
so
I'm gonna
not much you can do it, David.
Hold my hand up here and say, like many people, I don't read most of the things I agree to.
I know, but we're in the middle of selling our house at the moment, so hasn't this made you think twice?
No, but that's the point I was just about to get to, where it's like, when I'm downloading an app and it's like we're gonna send vultures to your house to eat your corpse, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, I just want to download Coronation Street Words with Friends or whatever it is. But when you come to like doing something like this, you'd think you would read a little bit of it, wouldn't you? I know it's a bit boring, but you probably, I just signed up for an allotment. You better believe I read the agreement for that. Apparently I've got to give 5 kilograms of potatoes to the Queen every year. Who knew that?
So he's kind of stuck, is David. And he goes and tells Nick this, and they argue over who gets Gail.
Oh, this was brilliant. And then David's like,
I'm gonna get her eye.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why we're talking about this, because it's gonna end up being me anyway.
He's like, why are you the golden boy, Nick? So Nick then decides that maybe he better pull his finger out, goes to see Ray and says, the offer where what was it that where he said that you can have the factory and you'll find somewhere else for me to sew my wonder bras.
Relocate me.
Can we still do that? And Ray's like, no.
No, of course we can't, you lunatic. Why would I? No,
and then,
limited time offer.
Then we get the big twist of the episode, which we kind of saw coming, is that Ray does indeed have a lady in his pocket, and he takes her out and buys her a drink at his hotel later. Polly Pocket, that's what we call her. So it's the woman who made the decision earlier. So although that he wasn't able to bribe this other bloke from the planning permission last week, she's well up for bribes. And that's
I know,
how
what bribes is she getting though?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to know.
What would your bribe? No, you'd have to pay extra for that.
There's a little scene in the Rovers again later where Sally warns Brian, don't feel too safe because he's going to be after the cabin next. And what is it that you said that you could?
Compulsory purchase order, yeah.
CPO. Yeah,
yes,
I thought that was a robot
like...
of Star Wars.
C3PO. Where they just go, well, you can't just stay here. You can't just be the only one.
Yeah. So it's possible that he could be told, sorry, you got to sling your hook, mate.
This whole thing makes me really uncomfortable. I know that I'm like, Ray should be able to do what he wants or whatever. It's not really, I'm just being a bit contrary as well. But like the idea that somebody could just go, I want to build a hotel here and everyone else has sold their house, so you have to move. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I guess I'd never really thought about it before because like I don't have a strong emotional attachment to where I live at the moment because it's a bit small. So if somebody came to me and went, move somewhere else, here's the money, I'd be like, thank you, that's what I wanted to do. Whereas if I thought I was living there forever and I had all my family, obviously you would be very upset, wouldn't you?
Yes. So Abby says...
And the other thing to remember, of course, is that it's been Kathy and Brian's dream and their life's passion to own a corner shop.
Yeah.
Their whole life.
And there aren't any other ones?
No.
Abby says it's time we started fighting back, which is exactly what she does on Wednesday. She says, we've got to get down to business. Ty's kind of in the mood at the beginning of the episode. He what?
Sorry, I know I'm interrupting
you.
I think that they should team up with one of these Italian towns that are selling their houses off for £1 each. You hear about these places where they're like, oh, come and live here, we need some more people, and they sell their houses off really cheap. They could all move in together as a big block and make a kind of
I don't think
little
they can.
Weatherfield.
I hear that
Italy.
Weatherfield's been blacklisted in Europe after Fred tried to bribe the black pudding judges back in 1996.
You're from where?
Anyway, Roy's also not giving up. He says this isn't fully signed and sealed yet. The he's totally right. He was very much in character, wasn't he? He's all about the paperwork and the legalities and the boring stuff, but actually
he's the kind of guy you want on your side with all the boring
they've got to.
paperwork.
The developer has got to satisfy any objection that's been made by the local community, and they need to sort of 106 agreement or something or other, and they've got 6 weeks to get their objections in. And
what does that mean though? Like when they say, right, my objection is I don't want you to move me. What they say then? They've got to meet your objection.
I don't know.
Satisfy your objection.
I don't know. I've not.
Go on, please, just move anyway.
I don't know, but they got 6 weeks. He thinks they're fine, and Abby's like, "No, stuff 6 weeks. We need to get our word out there now. We need to tell the people," because I think she's realised that they only seem to have about 5-6 people
who care
out of the cast of 80 is on Coronation Street at the moment.
Is this
Rita showed her face for the 60th anniversary episode?
She's like, actually, I'm going to keep one out of this.
I mean, Leanne, we haven't. She was almost dead on sleeping pills after a week on her own. Rita, we haven't seen her for a month almost.
I mean, last year she died from
she's
a
probably.
Christmas
Has
tree.
anyone checked underneath Rita's Christmas tree this year? I mean, Jenny, she's got her own problems, hasn't she?
They go in and they say, "Oh, she hasn't even unwrapped her presents, and there's a large woman-shaped one under a blanket here. Wonder what that is. She'd be sad she's missed this."
I do think that out of this whole Jenny story, and I know we haven't got onto this yet, I really, really, really would appreciate some Rita scenes. I know it can't really happen at the moment, I assume. But it really feels like it's missing it. And Jenny is crying her little heart out. And she needs a kind of mum, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I think that would be...
She was there for
really,
Rita.
really
Where's
touching.
Rita for her?
Still working her way through her Christmas booze.
She's sucking all the liqueurs out of the chocolate.
Yeah. She's taken down the Christmas tree and she found another stash underneath there.
Lovely.
Right, anyway, where do we get
idea.
to? Abby's got her idea. There's another funny scene with Gail and Sally where Sally
Gail
inadvertently...
thinks she's homeless, isn't she?
Yes.
Gail's like, where am I going to live?
Yeah,
Sally
inadvertently insults her by saying maybe you can move to Hale Barnes. Oh, actually, no, he probably couldn't afford it. Which is quite fun. Didn't Sally look swish in her beret? Was it on Wednesday she had that?
I couldn't cope with it because it was literally just sat on her head, wasn't it?
What would you
I've
expect
never seen anybody wear a
chin?
hat like that before. But you're supposed to it's supposed to go on the side, isn't it?
I don't know. Ask the French.
I don't speak to the French.
They go and see Roy, and Roy says, "Right, we're going to have a discussion for him later." And then this is when Abby comes driving round the corner in a big car with a trailer on the back, signs everywhere. There's a mannequin with Ray's face on and a mask for some reason. And she
how did she get that?
What?
A mask of someone's face printed up so professionally.
I don't know.
Are we going to be able to buy this in the Coronation
Doesn't
Street
matter.
TM gift shop next year?
I hope so.
Do you think the production staff are saying to the writers, you've got to keep Ray in the show for at least 12 months. We've bought 45,000 Ray masks from China and we've got to sell them and no one's going to buy them if he's not even in the show.
We've still got 30,000 Tony Gordon masks, and that's back from 10
Can you write
11
him
years
back
ago.
in it? Can somebody start being haunted by him, please?
So she's having this protest, and her plan is to drive through the street. I don't know whether they're going to go anywhere other than the street. Shouting out. They've got their megaphones, haven't they? They've got their tub thumping playing.
That was great.
Abby's calling for anyone who wants to join her to get up on the trailer with me. Stay 2 meters apart, please. And I think Alina joins them, doesn't she? So they managed to rally one more troop to their cause, and everyone else is just like looking the other way, pretending.
Also, it's too cold.
Happening. I know.
It's too cold to be in a protest. It's too cold to do clap for carers. It's too cold to do the mandatory exercise outside your home. I'm just staying in. I'm going to become a cocoon.
I agree totally. So Abby is mostly focusing on the sex caseness of Ray. Sorry, they shouldn't have such similar names. Roy's kind of pointing out that she needs to be careful with some of her accusations. Not only could they be slander / libel, whichever one. or it's also
It's
that's
so
not
mixing the message
that's
up
not
a little
what
bit,
we're
isn't it?
actually here to protest about. And
Too confused. You've got to keep one central theme.
and he's
one message.
just there reading out his legalese about 106 orders or whatever.
Yeah, he's not got a snappy slogan.
He doesn't.
They need to
Well,
find
she
a middle
she says
ground.
that he can't chant his. So
Yeah,
anyway.
she's got the good chance and he's got the information. And
Yeah.
they're refusing to communicate with one another.
106, we refuse to move up sticks.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, that's what I do. Ray comes out the bistro and he just finds this all very, very amusing. Roy says, "Have you negotiated a section 106?" And he's like, "Stuff off, I'm not
That's
interested."
boring. I don't know what you mean.
And then old Officer Craigie comes along and says, "Look, you're not really allowed to play loud music and rabble raise. Have you got permission from the council? What a square, what a
Do you need
killjoy
permission
tinker."
to have a protest?
Apparently so. Because Ray, they bring up Pride, don't they? And how it's like, "Oh, I thought the Pride was cancelled this year." And he says, well, when they do that kind of thing, yeah, they get permission from the city council or whatever. But what have you got? And
A megaphone.
well, not for long, because Abby ends up throwing it at Craig and then gets promptly arrested. So that puts a dampener on that.
Anybody who was watching Coronation Street on Wednesday had to decide whether to watch this or watch the other protest in America.
Yeah,
Was that going on at the
that
same
was going on at the
time?
same time. That
So-
made this one look a bit,
English.
bit minor.
A bit English.
Yeah.
Bunch of people going, "You're a sex case, don't demolish my house, I'm going to throw a megaphone at the policeman." And meanwhile in America they're like, treason, let's bring down the Capitol building and tie up all the senators.
Yeah, I didn't really compare. That's probably why you don't remember. You had that
I
on.
was very
Gemma was
absorbed.
watching that at the same time as watching Coronation Street. You had that on mute, didn't you?
It was history happening in front of my face.
I know.
And all Abby was doing was throwing a megaphone at Craig.
And she gets let off 2 scenes later. We didn't even see her in the police
I
station.
can't believe
did we?
she got let off because she must have form for attacking policemen.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she must do. But
How
anyway.
come bloody poor Johnny gets put in prison for 8 months and she's like, "Yeah, Craig."
She goes over to see Roy, who's proper narked at her for going OTT and going after Ray for being a sex case rather than going through the proper channels.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, David goes back home and finds that somebody's changed the locks. So he knows exactly who's behind this. He goes round to the bistro and accuses Ray of
Doing it.
and causing trouble. And so you say, "You're not allowed to do this."
Well, no,
and Ray's like,
he's-
"Oh, sorry, let me just check on the computer. Oh, yeah, it says that they're supposed to come here in 2 weeks to do that. Oh, they must have done it early. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Platt." And he's like, "Oh."
Well, he's just basically saying, "I can do what I like with your house."
He does. He finds it hilarious. And he's like, "Oh, while you're here, Tim, the Hale Barnes move has been delayed." So, suddenly goes back to how he was when he first came into the room.
He said, "Yeah, due to monetary problems or whatever, we're going to
can't
delay
actually-
it up to 24 months."
Yeah.
And
Funny.
and tough because you sold your house to me, so you've got to move now. This is exactly what happened to Audrey and Alf when who bought Liz McDonald and
Oh, yeah, when the
Jim
McDonalds bought
their
their
house.
house at
I'm like,
number 11.
this seems to this happens in Coronation Street more than it should do, because I don't actually know in real life that you can ever get yourself in a situation where you're literally homeless because you sold your house but you can't move in somewhere else.
I hope not.
I bloody hope
Again,
not as well.
It is quite pertinent to us at the moment, isn't it?
It's worrying me.
Well, Ray's obviously just done it to,
Just to remind David who's in charge.
just for bleeps and giggles, basically. And
I love bleeps
he
and
ends up
giggles.
going into his office and slamming the door into his face. It's like, I'm loving Ray at the moment.
I know. He's a sex case. You can't like him.
So at the end of the episode, Sally and Tim and Abby are talking about how awful Ray is and what are we going to do? Won't somebody step up to the plate? Well, can anybody
What can
save
anybody
us?
do
And
against
Faye's
Ray?
there looking like, ooh,
If only somebody had some
I've got some
dirt
evidence
on him.
against him. And then that doesn't even come into it on Friday, does it? Friday's episode's just about, well, it's nothing really, is it? Him and Abby talk about, David and Abby talk about the fact that Ray's probably bribing someone. Dev says, no, he's just schmoozing. David,
I loved it. I loved it when Deb was like that.
and then David goes to see this alternate accommodation that Ray's offered him, and it turns out that it's somewhere around by the Dog and Gun, and it's a massive dive.
And Shona's like, I ain't going there, I'm going to get my head kicked in. And having been to the real Dog and Gun a couple of times, I can confirm her concerns.
Totally would.
Totally correct.
So anyway, David goes to see Ray at the end of the episode. He says, I'm not having that house. And Ray says, well, it's tough. And I'm not blackmailing anyone. And if you don't leave, then things could get nasty for you.
Well, David says, I reckon you are, because you blackmailed me. So I'm basically like, you haven't heard the last of this.
Yeah.
Basically.
So that was kind of a bit of a to the story on Friday. It was kind of taken over by the Johnny and Leanne story, wasn't it? I think a lot of the stories this week, they kind of got 2 days in the spotlight and 1 day off, and that was Friday for this one. But on the whole, yeah, I found this surprisingly quite interesting.
I'm still intrigued by this, to be honest.
Loved the Zoom meeting on Monday. It felt a lot more kind of community-ish, with everybody kind of watching it from different places. I know we mostly saw the factory, but I think there were some other people that were watching it as well. It felt, like I said, very modern and relevant, having people, remote
totally
linked into the meeting. Yeah. I was quite excited when the twist verdict came back of, yes, we can build a hotel, because I was A, not expecting a verdict straight away, and B, not expecting it to be that.
The thing is, right, surely the surprise in this story is not going to be that they build a hotel, but how do they get out of rebuilding this hotel? That's going to be...
Well, yeah, but again, that seems like, to me, it's now going to be Faye. Look, we got Faye, Roy and Ray all together in one story.
But they don't like podcasters.
Faye, I assume now, is going to have to come and say, he molested me. Maybe Debbie's going to hear about that and say, what? Because she's already wobbling, isn't she, about her partnership with Ray. She's not happy. She just wants to get this signed and sealed. She's been she's been working hard for this, hasn't she, for months. She doesn't want to have to drop it and feel like she's wasted the last few months of her life. And she's also put all her cash into it as well.
Yeah.
But I've got a feeling that Faye is going to say that Ray raped me. Debbie's going to say, this is the last straw. Sorry, it's going to put my neck on the line, but I'm backing out, or I'm going to tell everyone what a fiddler you are.
Debbie would do that, but it would be very easy for her to say, well, it's your word against his. And when people's money is on the line, they often find themselves easily swayed by arguments they wouldn't perhaps entertain normally.
She's almost looking like she's looking for an excuse to get out for it at the moment, Debbie.
I agree with you, I'm just saying.
And the way that she's being written
I hope
is
that's not what happens.
She's being written to be like, viewers, like Debbie, please. We might want to keep her in the show. She's not nasty, really. It was just a big twist that Debbie's sister was in on it all along.
Kevin's sister.
Kevin, what did I say?
Debbie's sister.
Kevin's sister.
The twist is that actually Ray is Debbie's sister.
Because, I can't remember. She doesn't know about the bribe, does she? I can't remember whether Ray told Debbie or not. But, that's easily solved. If she doesn't know, she can find out, I'm sure. I think he is playing a very dangerous game. The fact that he tried to bribe the planning permission guy. Like David said, you tried to bribe me.
Well,
it's not going to stay a secret, is it?
Laying the foundations for several methods to undermine him. It's only a question of how will that happen.
Yeah. He's like I said, because he's on the final furlong now, he's taken more risks, isn't he? Bit like Jeff was, getting a bit more desperate. And it's going to come back and bite him in the bum.
Should we move to Hale Barns? Sounds great. If I ever win the lottery, I'm going to buy a house in Hale Barns just because I've heard so much about it.
Yeah, invite Sally.
Yeah.
Come and see it.
I'm going to buy somewhere in Tokyo, somewhere in London, somewhere in New York, and then somewhere in Hale Barns.
So yeah, I thought that was great. I thought the protest, and I can completely see why people thought it was silly. But I just really got into it.
It was a Coronation Street protest, and they're always a bit silly. There's always something inherently weird and silly about them.
I think it was because it was Abby that was, front and centre of it. And I love her, and she was being totally in character. So was Roy. I found him sort of reading through the legalese of it through his speaker, sort of very much in character. I thought everybody was. And the thing is, that if it had been, say, Brian at the front with a megaphone, I can imagine not liking it and thinking it was silly. But Sally Carman completely pulled it off.
She throws herself into everything that she gets given.
You could tell that she was having the time of her life. That
Yeah.
came across in the performance, and I just
She's just
totally
like a pure
bought into it.
ball of energy.
It was silly that
How
she
did
got
she do
arrested and then got out of it. I mean, I suppose they just wanted to way to diffuse the situation, or to
I just
you
want
know
something
make
funny
a
to happen.
break cliffhanger or something. But no, I really really did enjoy it, even though it didn't necessarily achieve anything towards the end. I suppose as viewers we now know that this section 106 exists, but that doesn't sound like a juicy upcoming plot, does it?
I know, this is the thing. When there's something like
Got
that,
shades of the report.
yeah, when something like that is on the table, you kind of just can imagine that there's no way that the end of the story is going to be some kind of anonymous, like, grey-haired, besuited man turns up and says, you can't do this because section 5 of the 106 order says that you can't blah blah blah, and actually this building is going to be blocking out daylight to 3 properties on Inkerman Street, and they have right to daylight through their window according to section
It's not going to be any of that, is
the
it?
1986 Window Act, as ratified by the Parliament. So unfortunately, you're going to have to not do it. And Ray will go, oh bugger, the Window Act again.
Do you think that Roy was right to tell Abby off?
Yeah, because she was not focused on what they were trying.
She
to do.
did have a bit of a personal vendetta.
She's only really in this because she doesn't like Ray. I can imagine her not giving a toss, honestly, about most of it. It's because it's to do, obviously to do with the garage and Kevin and everything. But really, the only reason she's so enthusiastic about it is because she hates Ray.
She was only getting out with him for 5 minutes, wasn't she?
Oh,
As
wow.
well. It's not like he completely ruined
She
her
did blow
life
up
or anything.
his car.
I
She's
know.
really mad at him.
She's yeah. Didn't she? I mean, he had her over the barrel because of that, doesn't she? So
The thing is about it is that they're not objecting to Ray as a person. They're
she
objecting
is.
to him and his plans to really develop the property. And even if everybody were to agree, yes, Ray is a sex case, that doesn't get them anything or anywhere.
Yeah.
So Ray's
as
Roy's
Roy
right.
was saying, he's totally right, but he's
Yeah.
such a party pooper, isn't
I
he?
know.
Right, before we move on to the next
Don't come
story,
to
I
me
have
with
got a
your
couple of
logic.
things that I wanted to point out, some other things that I enjoyed about this. One, Emma's Spanish lessons. Totally unnecessary, but brilliant.
Love the fact she's like, my uncle lives in Spain, I'm going to live with
Uncle
him.
Andy.
And she thinks she can learn Spanish off her phone from that angry owl on Duolingo. She's going to be intimidated by him in a few weeks' time when he starts lecturing her for not opening her
That
up
was
every day.
such a masterstroke to put that into the plot. It was, as I said, completely not needed, but that was... I mean, I've been moaning recently about Emma being just, having misery upon misery piled upon her, and that little moment there, it was quite sketchy, wasn't it? As in sketch showy.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about her. And you could see it coming as well, because she was standing behind the bar while some of the characters in the front were talking about it, and she was just there on her phone, kind of looking at it and acting. I was like, what's Emma
She's
doing
like
over
moving
there?
her hands around, wasn't she?
What's Emma doing? And then a minute later, she comes out the front, and then she's like, "Dos what biers, por favor?" I don't speak Spanish. Senors and senoritas. And then she goes off into her little thing about, and what is it? And then Brian starts telling her, asking for a packet of cheese and onion crisps in French, and she's like, "I've only done
In
families
Spanish.
and greetings."
Spanish,
Yeah,
yes.
Spanish. I don't even know what the language is.
Hilarious.
Really, really funny stuff, and I like her pink leopard skin mask as well. Number 2, I appreciated the mention that Tyrone made of COVID nearly finishing the garage off. We never saw any of that, of course, but again, kept it relevant and up to date. Number 3, I thought that Kathy's remarks about when the TV was on the blink, or the sound was on the blink, and she said, it's like her auntie's TV was like that, and her line, I knew all the moves to Pan's people. I used to watch Top of the Pops. I knew all the moves that Pan's people ever did, just not the songs that they went to. I thought that was hilarious. So really, really great script. So many quotable lines on Monday.
I don't know how famous Pan's people are.
They were the dancers, weren't they, on Top of the Pops?
Top of the Pops, before they had music videos. In the UK, they'd have this dance troupe called Pan's Peoples that came and just did dances to all the songs.
Yeah.
And they were the bee's knees. My mum said when she was young, she wanted to be in the Pan's People. Or Pan's People. They were the thing to be.
My mum wanted to be Nolan Sisters. She wanted to be up there on stage, right front centre.
No,
Your mum was a backing dancer.
My mum would be on every night, and the Nolan Sisters would not be.
Right, Gemma, A Babes in Grace.
Oh yeah.
Tell me,
See,
next
I
story.
thought this was really interesting.
Oh yeah, I thought it was as well.
This is kicking off to be a plot for the Baileys for.
I know.
And this is probably the first time anyone's ever got pregnant on Coronation Street, and I've gone, oh, interesting. Now what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Whereas normally it's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled that this is a stories and there's not a snifter of issue about it.
The issue is the baby is going to come, and Aggie is not happy.
It's the fact that the issue is solo parenting, maybe, I don't know, but this is a soapy drama story, and I love it. And it's about Michael, who's my favourite Bailey. Aggie's been great this week. Grace, yeah, oh God, but what's been happening, my dear?
So, I'm your dear.
You are my dear.
On Monday, Grace has been released from prison. How lovely. She goes straight to number 3, and it's obvious that nobody there realises that she and Michael have been talking, or that she's expecting a child. And so Grace says that his parents need to know the truth, and he's like, I don't even know if it's my baby, we should have a paternity test. And she's like, yes, let's have a paternity test. See, all the way through, I never really doubted that this was his baby.
No, I don't think I did as well.
I really
maybe
hope...
at the beginning I thought maybe not, but from the scenes that we had before Christmas, I was not really in any doubt.
I really, really hope that Grace is now going to be rehabilitated into a character that is not going to be a loony liar, because I don't want that to happen.
No, I don't either.
I think it would be far more interesting to explore the dynamic between her and Aggie than to have like, oh, you can never know what Grace is saying, as if it's the truth or not.
Yeah, Grace was coming across as quite reasonable for a lot of this week, I think, and Aggie was being the mother-in-law from hell.
I really don't want to make excuses for somebody who's like been lying for so long, but I can almost imagine how she got herself in a situation where she's like, I can't not say like, oh, how am I supposed to get out of this? The only way is to carry on lying. Anyway, so she's like, yeah, let's do this. So they go to
clinic.
Yeah, and it turns out it's going to cost 900 quid. And she's like, I've done a lot of thinking in prison. I want to apologise and tell you blah, blah, blah. But then James comes home, so she has to run away quickly. Then they go to the clinic, and he's like, I want to know now. I don't care even if it's more than £900. I need to know, no matter what the cost.
Yeah, they get their fast track results, don't they?
Well, it doesn't come until Wednesday, but if I was Grace, this would be a warning bell to me, because he's wasting money unnecessarily. £900, £1,000 to find out quickly, when you know it's definitely his baby, I'd be like, you're just going to have to trust me, save that money, because you're going to be needing to spend money on a pram.
No, she's just desperate to keep hold of him. I think if she realises that the sooner he knows,
the
sooner he'll say, yeah.
I understand, but really, if she had said to him, like, I know she's being a better person than I would be, because I'd be like, well, I'm not letting you spend extra money on this, because I know it's the truth, and you can come crawling back to me when you find out that what I'm saying is true, and it didn't cost you 900 quid to find out.
She doesn't want to let him go now, does she?
I suppose also it's quite attractive to her. He's like, I don't care the cost. I'll spend £1,000. It means nothing to me. She's like, oh, okay. Anyway, also he's been selling all the cosmetics down the posh gym.
Oh yeah.
The yummy mummies. So he's
rolling
flush.
in it.
He's like, Grace, while we're here, would you like some bisexual eyeliner? That's what Gemma called it. Right, so Wednesday, Michael's like, when's the post? Grace comes over. It's her 20-week scan. I don't know. She's going to it.
Yeah, so it's later today, and she says it must have slipped my mind when he asked why she didn't know, and I suppose that's did look
weird.
A little bit
What's
flaky.
that about? she says, look, you can come if you like. So the post turns up and the baby's his. He goes and finds her outside the hospital and she plays him the baby's heartbeat.
Yes, that was cool. Is that a new thing? She's like, get an MP3 of the baby's heartbeat. I thought that was really cute. Don't you?
Yeah, did you also hear that in Japan, you can get your fetus 3D printed to be an amiibo?
No, that's not true.
And it can be a character in Smash Brothers.
No, don't be so silly.
So sorry, it's a bad taste, is it? So they go back to the street and Aggie overhears going,
she does.
what shall we do with this baby that we're going to have? And she's like, what did you say? Aggie's completely going off on one, accusing Grace of lying, saying it's not Michael's kid. And then Michael's like, yes it is, here's the letter. And she just goes. Michael comes back later and tries to explain himself to Aggie, and she's not having any of it. He says, I want to do my bit. I want to be a responsible dad. I want to raise this child with or without your blessing. And she's like, look, I'm really shocked by this, obviously. I'm never going to forgive Grace for what she did for the... It's really bad. You really wouldn't forgive her for this, would you? Oh,
with Tiana.
Lying about
she was
Tiana for a year. Exactly. It's
well.
sad, but, you know, it's also not real, so I can kind of be a bit detached from it. So she says, you have to be the father of this child, but Grace can't be the mother. You have to apply for sole custody, because she's a head case. She's not totally wrong here.
That's harsh. She wants Michael to get custody of the
she's
baby's soul.
saying,
I don't think you can do that. You know, I've been watching the latest Pixar movie, have you?
Yeah, she's not wrong. I mean, if you were Aggie, you probably would be like, I prefer it if you weren't involved in any way whatsoever, because you're a proven liar and maniac, and who knows, anything that you said would be a lie or not. You never trust her again.
I'm sure she'll come to love her.
I'm sure she'll be like,
the baby's gonna pop out, and by just at that point, Aggie's gonna be ready to accept this baby into her life.
Aggie, if all the people...
Aggie's going to deliver the baby, isn't she?
Oh,
everybody?
yeah, and then they'll
She's
bond, because once somebody's looked up there, they're never the same again.
Yeah, that's my prediction. Aggie delivers the baby.
Oh, well, you should have said that in the predictions.
I know, I just thought of it.
On Friday, Ed is pleased for Michael and Grace. And
Ed doesn't get told until the next morning. Like, I don't think it was dark when Michael came home on Wednesday.
Probably because he says to Michael, like, why is your mum in a mood? She's scared to ask her. There's also a bit where she was like, stirring something on the stove. I'm like, what's that, mackerel custard? I hope that one of the things that
That's probably why Ed didn't find out on Wednesday. It was like, I need to go to bed early tonight, my dear.
One of the things I hope that they clash over is how bad Aggie is at cooking. And I would love there to be a scene where Aggie gives her some horrible food and she's like, why is nobody saying anything? Why are you all just eating this rubbish? That would be... Tell you what, there has to be a female character on Coronation Street who can cook. Because, I hate to say this, it's not typical that this many women, grown women, can't or won't cook food. Most people in this country, no matter what gender they identify as, can cook their own food.
I made a pizza for my dinner tonight, everybody. I rolled out the dough and everything.
Well done,
If
Michael.
I can do it, Aggie can do it. Yeah, I think we could get, could this be a classic Gail and Ivy kind of situation here that's brewing with the antagonistic mother-in-law?
Yeah, but you see, I thought that Ivy wasn't always in the wrong, whereas I think Aggie... I
still loving Ivy.
She's got a bit of a point, hasn't she, though, Aggie?
Let's get
on
to
Friday,
the end,
so Michael says, I'm not going to go for sole custody, I want to co-parent. And Aggie's like, I don't care. I'm not changing my mind. It's like, who says it's anything to do with you? Grace is poison. And Ed's like,
See, Ivy in this situation would be like, you got to both be mummy and daddy to that little kidder, wouldn't she?
Yeah. At the bistro, Michael...
I would have thought that Aggie might have more traditional views because, for one episode... They were Christians and go to church, weren't they? Remember that one time last year? And I'd have thought they'd been all for, the proper nuclear family.
Yeah, but it's one thing to be like pro nuclear family, but like if one of the parents of the child is like Satan himself, you'd be like, oh, maybe the single parent life is for you.
I
Don't
don't
you
know.
think?
I think she's going to come round to it. I really get.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong about this. As much, as crazy as she's just. This is the trouble about interfamily relations with women, is that there's so much baggage around, like, the mother-in-law from hell and being a daughter-in-law and all these expectations and things, and you have to live up or deny the stereotypes that have got nothing to do with you and what your relationship is going to be like. But yet again, also, these things are based on some universal truths sometimes about the way that women and how mothers interact with their sons, and where do you draw the line. And in most normal relationships you'd be 100% on the daughter-in-law, like, you have to draw a line. She can't tell you what to do. Don't let the mother-in-law control you. But in this case, it's like, Aggie's going, why isn't nobody listening to me? This woman was lying to us for a year. She kidnapped a baby and she went to prison for it. And why is everyone saying I'm the unreasonable one? Just because I cook strange food.
No, I do. I have felt sorry for Aggie.
I'm really conflicted. This is what I really like about this. I can see this being fascinating because they both have a point.
Yeah.
And conflict where two characters are locked in a disagreement and neither of them are really necessarily wrong. They just have different perspectives.
Yeah, I like the bit,
way more interesting.
I like the bit later in the episode where Aggie's saying, look, Michael's my baby. I know he's grown up now. Well, he's 28, 29 or so now. He hasn't left home yet, so he's still my baby.
They're always your baby.
I'm going to worry about him.
So Michael says to Grace, I want to co-parent. She's delighted. Her face, she was so sweet. She was really sweet and vulnerable all this week, was Grace, wasn't she? Because she was, she's been a bit cowed by the experience and it all went out of hand, and now she's on the back foot and she needs something from them. And she's also really happy because I guess she wanted to be a mum.
Yeah.
And,
with Michael.
Yeah, and so everything's kind of coming true, but it's tainted by the stuff that she's done, and she can't undo it. She can only try to go forward. So she says, I want me and Aggie to start off on the right foot. I want to have it out with her, and I want everything to be okay. And when she said this, I was like, you are crazy. Why would... No way, Aggie's not going to forgive you. So Grace and Michael go to number 3 and they're like, can you be nice to us? And Aggie's like, nope, I don't trust you as far as I can throw you. Which you shouldn't do to pregnant women.
It's alright, she's only 20 weeks.
Grace says, please give me a chance to prove myself. And she's like, fine. I don't believe that Aggie's given her... honestly... She's not going to give her a fair shake. She's not.
She kind of has to say that, doesn't she?
Of course she does. Because Michael's
she's going to be looking out for every little mistake that Grace makes.
Eyes peeled. Everything she does. Let's watch everything she does. It's not, and it's like, let's just make this clear. Aggie would be a nightmare anyway if she was your mother-in-law. But now
I think it would be hilarious if Grace does go and cook this amazing meal and she serves it to Aggie and she has to swallow it down, and she knows that this is an amazing food that her daughter-in-law is cooking. It's better than the best thing that's been served in that house for since they moved in.
Yeah.
But she has to keep.
She's like
antagonistic.
This cake is nice, but what I normally do is a Marmite glaze.
No, I think mileage may vary with this story, and then if you're not invested in the Baileys, or if you're not willing to give the Baileys a shot, or if perfectly understandably you said, stuff the Baileys, they've not done anything for the past 2 years, I've not built up an investment in them, I can see you fast forwarding through these scenes, but they're some of my favourite stuff in the week. I think
even if you didn't like the Baileys, this is to me, feels like a bit of a new chapter.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It is. I love how they've got Aggie like this. I think it's quite funny how Ed's just
Whatever.
He's totally on the fence.
I
want to support Michael, but I also want to support Grace, and I also want to support Aggie. So, ooh.
He knows Aggie well enough by now to say, I'm not.
Yeah, I think he's saying he supports Aggie because he doesn't want to get the wrath of Aggie later on, but really he's supporting Michael, and he thinks that it is probably right that these two parents look after the baby, because it
really is the whole thing about Tiana is going to have to become like a fever dream that we all had as like a shared hallucination, because she, anyone would be correct to say this is a poisonous person who lied and hurt everybody, not just the Baileys, but the parents of Tiana and Tiana herself.
From a spectator standpoint, though, I can see how, like you said earlier, she just got caught up in this lie.
I know, I don't want to make
we've all
excuses,
been there.
but we do this for characters we like, and I wouldn't say I necessarily completely like Grace, but it was one of these things where you're like, oh, it's just one of those misunderstandings that got out of hand.
And it did have a really great twist when it was revealed last year.
Award-winning
I've got an awful lot of I give the story a heck of a lot of leeway because of how much I love that twist and it was revealed.
And also, it doesn't really hurt that I think that Aggie and Michael are two of the most well-regarded Baileys.
I would say so.
I mean, we personally really like Michael, and I like Aggie too. I like all of them.
James we haven't mentioned James this part. What does James think about what? I think we all know what James thinks about this,
I hope it's a
he?
boy. I can teach him football.
Yeah, keep him out of it.
Send him to London.
Yeah. The only other thing I was wondering about this was I wonder if there's going to be any financial consequences coming out of the fact that he paid extra for these fast track results, particularly because he's doing all this, pyramid scheme, Avon calling or anything.
Well,
they
like
seem to make a big thing about how much more it was going to be.
A bit flippant about this, but I genuinely think, and I understand, I've had to wait for test results for things, not for being pregnant, but for medical things. And I would have wanted to pay money to find out faster, yes. But it's not a clever thing to do when you're about to have a baby. To spend $1,000.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, I'd pay more when I go to the chemist to get my prescription quicker.
Do you?
No, I said I would want to.
I was going to say.
But I don't want to wait 10 minutes. The pill box is just behind you over there.
Turn around and get it off the shelf. Listen, before anybody says anything, I understand it's more complicated than that. My friend is a pharmacist. But you got to admit, it's kind of annoying.
It's very annoying. Anyway, good stuff. I'm interested to see more Grace because, last year she felt like she was a character that was not going anywhere.
It really feels
like this is the start
is she
of
a permanent?
new for her.
I don't know.
Staff
member then.
She's like Debbie, like Elaine. I don't think she's a regular, as it were.
I hope she turns into one. I mean, we often say on the podcast, because we looked into it, and I don't know, we haven't done it recently, but if you look at all the pregnancies that ever happen, there's a 50% chance in the show that the baby will be born. I'm not anticipating tragedy.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
I hope that. I think they would be really stupid to do that because there's so much potential here, and we really don't need to see Michael upset again.
Gemma, am I hearing you right? Potential for a baby and pregnancy.
I said this
story.
to you. I said this right at the beginning. This is probably literally the first time I've ever heard a character on Coronation Street is pregnant and gone, ooh, this could be good.
Did we have it? I don't know what we thought when Leanne got pregnant with Ollie and the baby was secretly Steve. Because I remember that was quite an exciting reveal when Steve said that Ollie was his.
Yeah, it? But once that happened, it was like,
So kill him off. Right. Another storyline that I loved, despite the tragic bittersweetness of it, was Evelyn leaving, which we didn't get any of today, but it was just fab on Monday and Wednesday. And yes, I know there was the whole thing about he's off to Canada, come to Canada with me, we're going, in a couple of hours time, pack up your bags in a tiny suitcase, let's go. Very silly, but I was well into this, partly because of the fantastic performances by Maureen Lipman and Paul Copley. So what happened was, on Monday, Evelyn's still reading this book that
Evelyn's reading.
Evelyn's reading the book that Arthur left her. And when Dev's asking her about it, she's getting all knocked off and evasive and everything because she's trying to hide the fact that she's quite enjoying this present that was given to her by this
boyfriend.
Yeah, who's been lying to her all this. Yeah. Oh well, so she thinks. So she goes into the cafe later, and then when Arthur pops in, she tries to make a hasty exit, and he managed to get her talking for a little bit, but when he sees that she's uncomfortable with him being there, he leaves, and she's looking regretful because she really does want to talk with him. She sees him coming out of the florist with flowers later and says,
great.
I don't want any soppy romantic gestures. She thinks that she's bought those for him, doesn't she?
He's bought them for her.
He's bought them for her. And she drops off. Leave me alone, she says.
The script was really, really good on Monday.
It really, really, really was great stuff. And then... Oh yeah, then Evelyn's in the Rovers later. George comes in. This is when they're in the middle of talking about Dev's cactuses that he's got in the garden in his bathroom, doesn't he? Abby's scratching her and scratch post. And they talk about having a droopy cactus and feeling a small prick when you go in. It was really silly, but the delivery was brilliant.
And then it was a good script.
George comes in and he thinks that he's been called a small prick, I think, but he's clearly he's being quite dismissive of Evelyn, and it turns out that the reason that Arthur was getting his flowers on earlier on was because he's burying his wife today. He doesn't have anyone to hold his hand. Shocker.
I think probably the confusing part was that he was walking around with a bouquet, and generally you would give a wreath.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I didn't see this coming.
Would have been a bit of a giveaway.
I knew
if he had had a wreath in his hand.
It seems like it was, inevitable that the wife would die at some point. But I was quite surprised when it happened so soon. Evelyn goes back to the cafe and asks Roy if he knew about Beryl dying. And he's like, he did, but he didn't think it was his place to tell her. But now he says, look, you need to go to Arthur. He needs you. So she arranges to meet Arthur later. He comes round to her house after the funeral. And a more great script where she's talking about the wake being the best bit and everything. She goes off.
Didn't she do like a little mini wake for him? Didn't she have food on the table?
She does. She's got some little sandwiches and pork pies and things. She goes off to Deb's to go and get some things. So they've got all that and they settle down together. He loves that she's got this book. What was it called?
Age of Innocence.
Age of Innocence. And he kind of reads the blurb, and it seems to mirror the situation that they're in, basically, about...
That's why I was so surprised when she was surprised when he said, well, let's go to Canada, because if she'd read to the end of the book, that's exactly how it ends.
Is it?
No, I don't know.
He drops the bombshell on her. I'm blowing this popsicle stand. I'm off to Canada.
I tell you what, isn't it convenient that his wife's dead then? I mean, I don't imagine that this was he must have had this booked for ages, and he maybe went in there with a pillow.
Surely you can't emigrate just like this. You got to plan weeks in advance. Surely.
You just phone up. What's it? Is it Justin Trudeau? And he go, my wife's died. Can I come back? And they're like, yeah, sure. Why not?
You can, guy. Come back in.
That's what
sorry.
Justin Trudeau.
Arthur.
Deirdre.
We'd love to have you. How do you bring that Murray Lipman with you? She's fabulous. He says, come with me, Evelyn. I'm going later. I'm going next episode. Surely that's enough time for you to pack up all your things.
And don't worry about your dog.
Yeah, we'll be able to put Cerberus on a different
It's too cold for rabies
plane.
in Canada.
Anyway, it's so sweet. It's like the whole story with them, wasn't it? Was that he moved to Canada back in whenever it was 60s, 70s, and she wasn't there to see him off, so he thought that
she didn't love him.
She dumped him or whatever. So now it's like we can make up for all this time together we should have had. And poor Beryl, she's barely cold.
This is what I wasn't happy too much about, really. It's like he's like, well, I moved on a while ago.
I mean, he was trying to get into Evelyn's tent not a few months ago, wasn't he? So.
I think, honestly, Coronation Street, sometimes you have to ignore some of the plot twists. Like Grace was lying about Tiana, but you still got to trust her now, because she's super serious about this baby now. Okay, she's not going to lie anymore. And like the plot twist about Arthur's like, oh, I've got a secret wife who's going to die. But don't let the fact that I don't seem to have any emotional attachment to her whatsoever sort of make you think I'm a bad person because I'm Arthur Coulter.
Arthur Medwin.
Arthur Medwin.
Speaking of Grace, I'm sure that at some point in this story she is going to have a little lie about something that Aggie's going to catch her out on.
Oh, probably. Like she's.
And I told you, Michael. And
do you think she's going to be creepy and say, "Let's call her Tiana"?
Oh, I hope
That'd
not.
be scary.
Right, so I
Let's go to Canada,
loved
please.
Maureen and Paul's performance, and that just that he was looking so excited about it, and the looks that she was giving, which was half kind of hiding her excitement about the idea of doing this flit,
very
regretful about going and saying no, and then when he goes, she kind of gives it. She's just brilliant.
She's got some really great expressions. She's so
good.
Flustered and it's kind of like girlish, kind of flirty.
It was.
Not sure of her stuff, like an ingenue.
And I was watching it going, I love this, but I hate it because I did not know that this was going to happen. And I wanted Evelyn and Arthur to get together and be a proper couple. And when Arthur,
back?
I don't know. And when Arthur came back, when was it? It was only last week. I thought, brilliant. I thought we'd seen the last of Arthur, but now he's come back and they're on to stage 2 of their relationship. And it's like, no, you pulled it away from me.
Why?
Just as I was warming up to it again.
Well, come on, tell me what happens the next day.
Well, what happened, Gemma, was this. She kind of drops this possible emigration bombshell on Tyrone. Oh, what do you think, Tyrone, about it? And he's obviously taken aback by it as well, as you would be. Get a spare bedroom
back, but I get rid of my free babysitter, so I'm conflicted.
Yeah. And she says, do you like, no, he says to her, do you like Arthur? Do you love him? And she's like, none of your business, which was great. Totally in character.
Kind of would help me
He says, look, you need to do whatever you think is right. But if you, obviously, she's like, I hope Gran, or Nana, or whatever he calls her, that leaving the family would be, on your list of cons when you're thinking about whether to go or not, whether to weigh it up. And she's like, of course. But he says, if it is, don't let that stop you. You need to do what's going to make you happy. Lovely stuff. I love it. I love Tyrone. I love Evelyn. So she... I love this family. Really, really love them.
I tell you what, Evelyn's the best thing that happened to
love number 13.
Dob Stapes for a while.
Yeah. More of them for 2021,
since they got together, to be honest.
That little end of the street with Dev and with Tyrone and...
They're having a renaissance.
Totally, yeah. Anyway, she goes over to the tram stop later and Arthur's there with his tiny little bag. I don't know what he's got in there. Well,
I hope he hasn't maple syrup. Why would you take that to Canada?
Yeah. And hopefully he's got his thermals on because they're probably under about 10 feet of snow at the moment, aren't they?
Wonder what bit of Canada he's going to. Don't want to alienate
French Canada.
She's like, where are you? I'll come with you. Great, we're going to go to Quebec. Okay, change my mind. He looks so happy to see her coming out to him, but then he's like, oh, you haven't got your luggage with you, have you? And she's really sorry, but she's says, like, I'm going to buy it there.
He says, it just wouldn't work. Tyrone said, do what makes me happy, and what would make me happy is staying here with my family.
Oh, I don't know I had until recently, but never mind. Also, my dog.
Yeah,
because he's
if she hadn't met Tyrone like 2-3 years ago,
she would be there.
And she had met him, she'd be right over there. It's tragic.
It's tragic.
I hope that she doesn't, live to regret playing Tyrone in the back of her head. I just thought it was so sweet, and a lot of people I've seen have been against the mellowing of Evelyn, but I thought that when she first came into the show, she was too nasty.
She was.
I've loved the softer edge she's given, and the fact it wasn't. And the fact that she's still, snappy and blunt.
I think they do need to give her a few more of those lines and scenes, because she is in danger of just becoming a nice old lady that sometimes says mean things rather than a mean old lady that sometimes says nice things, which is what I prefer.
I'm not worried about that. I think they've
different
got a really
opinions,
good balance.
then.
Really, really good balance.
Yeah, I think it is at the moment. What I'm saying is that, she couldn't, in this story I'm totally fine with how they've done it, but they need to not stray too far from the Evelyn formula.
Yeah. Anyway, he goes, she almost has a cry. Brilliantly done again. And then she goes and tells Tyrone, and she says, what does he say? He says something about him not forgetting her, and she's like, well, some women are quite unforgettable. It's a curse, but it's our cross to bear.
This reminds me of...
and then she tells him to pull himself together when he starts saying something soppy.
This reminds me of Blanche telling Ken and Deirdre that good looks are a curse.
Yeah.
And they don't have to worry about it.
You should consider yourself lucky. Brilliant final scene as well, where she goes to see Roy, her old pal Roy, which there's not going to be any romance with it. I think we were wondering about it at the time, but she wants to go for a walk with him, and so as long as you don't bore me senseless with talking about your squirrel's nocturnal mating habits, and then he starts going off about squirrels.
It's like, actually, you might be surprised.
He goes off on some nerdy monologue, and it was all great character stuff at the end of that episode.
Really good.
He was just being oblivious to the fact that she didn't care about it, but she's also, you could tell she was also thinking, oh, this is where I belong. She's got
like,
friends
you can't get
here.
This in Canada.
That's just my little flight of fancy with Arthur. It was my, my fairy tale. It wasn't real life.
I really honestly think he'll be back. I do. I think that he'll be back. But the thing is, because of the COVID restrictions about older cast members, it would, I mean, in 6 months' time,
I
come back and go, it's bloody nippy there.
I can't risk getting my heart stamped upon again. I banked on Jan coming back for Eileen.
I know. Why can't they catch a break?
Jan back.
The women of the street. What is wrong with the writers? They hate them. So mean. They'll never find true love when they're on the show.
Right, Coronation Street writers, if you bring Arthur back, I will forgive you for keeping Jan in Poland during this time. But only if you can bring him back. One or the other. Why can't they have a happy ending?
See,
please.
At least, the thing is, to me, at least I'm thinking, no characters could have been in the show forever apart from Ken. There's always going to be an exit point for every character. Yeah. At least this would give Evelyn, if Maureen Lipman decides to leave, at least she can be like, I've thought about it, and I'm going to go to Canada.
Mm. I mean, I know that Maureen Lipman is not going to stay with the show forever, is she? Every time she gets her contract renewed, it's a blessing to an awful lot of Coronation Street viewers. I don't think it will
be Coronation Street's decision if and when she leaves.
Imagine the next producer coming
I'm going to get rid of Maureen Lipman and Ken Barlow. Yeah. And William Rich.
So every scene that she's in, I'm just like soaking in and appreciating, because I love her so much.
She's so good, Evelyn.
It was so bittersweet. I loved it yet hated it this week, just because I didn't want to see them split up. I loved the idea that this time she was there to see him goodbye. Yeah. It was like mirroring the situation when they were younger. Not that we saw it, of course. It would have been maybe more impactful if we had, but
can't follow everyone around.
Loved it. It was very convenient
that his
wife
Corrie.
died.
It was very
silly that he's decided to just leave and go. And then that's another criticism that I've seen people saying, and I'm almost just past that. That's become such a ridiculous tropey cliche that if you're going to emigrate, you just go. And it doesn't even register to me.
This is probably
I know that I've mentioned
partially why Brexit got through in this country, because we think no matter what, it seems to me there's a certain kind of person who lives in this country that thinks that we're all of superior stock, and any country in the world would cream their pants to have somebody from Britain come and live there. No, I don't. Actually not. No. Actually, most places you have to have a pretty good reason to want to move there, even if you are from Britain. They won't just let you in. They don't roll out the red carpet and say, oh yeah, Lizzie said you were cool, come in.
Yeah, I think when you were saying earlier that you wanted to see more of the old Evelyn back a little bit more, giving her a bit of a harsher edge, and I wouldn't be surprised if
she might get a bit bitchy.
Yeah, after this, she's opened herself up, and now she's lost, the chance for happiness. I think she's going to be a bit more of a closed book again.
I think this is more of a case of loved and lost than never loved at all. I think she's going to be quite philosophical about it. She certainly had a choice.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps it was it wasn't completely Tyrone and the rest of it. It's also it's a romantic story, but they really don't know each other that well, and I don't think I'd volunteer so quickly to be an old man's nursemaid, because that's probably one of either one of them is going to end up having to look after, and it won't be that long.
No,
I don't want to be mean.
They are both quite old, is what
and
you're
women
saying.
Generally live longer than men. So really, she should have thought about that. Okay, she should have been get myself in the will, wait for him to drop. I get what's the wife and the husband stuff.
What's the medical care situation like in Canada? I forget.
I don't know.
Leave him out in the snow.
America's the only, like, civilised country that doesn't have healthcare.
Oh, right. Then.
Isn't it? They have socialised healthcare.
Okay, fine.
Where rich people have to pay for poor people to get boob jobs, just like they do in this country.
Right, let's move on, Gemma. The lonely story.
Lonely, yes. Leanne on Wednesday.
Oh, by the way, I didn't realise that all the stuff with Simon and Kelly kind of belonged in this story on Wednesday. So I've got everything else that's not related to that first, and then I'll pop the Simon and Kelly stuff at the end, and it all merges together on Friday. Continue.
I'll say it now, because otherwise I'll be saying it all the way through. I hate Kelly.
We know.
Off my chest.
We know.
I know you know, but I've got to say it.
I just can't stand her shaved eyebrow.
That's a mean thing to say because you don't know why it's like that.
Because she wants to look cool.
She might have a scar on her face or something. You can't say that. You don't know why she's got that.
I don't really love Kelly. I don't despise her as much as you do, and I am willing to give her a chance. I mean, it might have even been on the predictions podcast this week where you said let's give so and so a chance for 2021, and I'm kind of thinking that for Kelly only because I kind of think that it looks like we might have to do that. But I've seen some people online thinking that she's the best thing sliced bread since sliced bread, and out of all the teens on the street, she's the shining star of it. And I'm thinking I don't see it yet.
She's a turd.
I don't see it yet. She might blossom, but yeah,
she just seems to me to be a mean girl who's pretty and thinks everyone else is stupid because they're not pretty like she is.
Yeah.
And I went to school with too many girls like that to like Kelly.
I suppose so.
She's like, oh, I'm so cool and pretty. She's like the sort of girl that would sneak off and like smoke and think she was cool and have like vodka in her school bag and to make fun of you because you did your homework. You can tell I was a nerd at school.
Why is she friends with Summer again?
I don't understand.
It's because Summer's had a personality transplant.
It's because Summer's...
There was that thing in tonight's
really
episode. Do you remember the scene? I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to listeners.
Yes.
You remember the scene where Summer and Kelly are walking down Victoria Street and they see the ambulance there outside of Victoria Court? And
I looked at it and went, I just wondered who that girl was for a minute.
You did. There was like 5 seconds in, you were like, oh yeah, I forgot who that girl was then. And then it took me another 5, and I was like,
"What?
Who is it? Is that?"
And then you carried on typing.
Literally 5 seconds after that, I was like, "Oh, it's Summer!"
It's Summer.
So we were a good 10 seconds into that scene before I even realised that was Summer. I'm sorry. You know what I think about the new Summer, but if they couldn't have made her less Summer-like in personality, looks, attitude, any way, if they'd tried.
Were Summer and Kelly friends when Summer had a different face? I just can't imagine Summer being friends
similar circles
Kelly.
as in the circle of all the teens on Coronation Street.
I'm sorry, but Kelly's the sort of girl who'd be beating Summer up outside of school because she looked at her when she got something wrong in maths.
I know. I just don't get it. Oh.
So, Wednesday, Leanne gets a message from Simon, like, how's France? I want to talk to you. And she doesn't, so she phones up Dr. Gaddis. And Dr. Gaddis, she's like, oh, please help me, I need drugs. And Dr. Gaddis is like, I kind of want to see you first. And Leanne's like, no one can see me.
I hope listeners like us, when we saw Dr. Gaddis appear on screen on Wednesday, you gave the Gaddis whoop whoop.
Yeah, it's the Gaddis alert.
Yeah.
Look, there she is. Everyone else...
Don't you just love it when they drop a surprise Gaddis on you?
Me too. And I have to say...
Doesn't happen very much.
In Coronation Street, the cast are having various degrees of being able to cope with the ongoing hairdresser situation. Some people, you can tell, need a trim. And we're not going to say who. You can tell for yourself. Some people, are sort of coping quite well. I guess they've got their own scissors at home. Dr. Gaddis...
Imran looked like he'd had a haircut today.
Dr. Gaddis looks like she's got her own, personal salon somewhere where they just wait for her to come in. And Dr. Gaddis is here! Quick! Everyone get the hairspray! Everyone get the scissors! Go! You know what I mean?
She is a doctor.
She looks perfect all the time. She's amazing.
Awesome. She only comes in it once every 2 months.
And it's
that
like
she makes it.
it's like you can smell her as well. Like she smells expensive. Like she wafts in like, "Hi, everything's fine now. Dr. Gaddis is here." Like I'm like, "Oh, please prescribe me something, Dr. Gaddis. I love you." She says, "I want to see you." She sees Simon outside the shop, and he says to her that Leanne's in France. He's just like, "Something's wrong about this."
I just love seeing Dr. Gaddis outside the shop. It's like, ooh, what's she going to buy? She doesn't just live in the surgery.
She goes in.
What does she do?
She's like, "Get me a bottle of vodka, 20 condoms, and a packet of fags. I'm out on the town tonight."
She could. Oh man. If there's any
I'm a cool doctor.
Any spin-off I've wanted more than
Dr. Gaddis
and Moira. I don't know. Dr. Gaddis and Moira, The Secret Online Adventures.
Oh, how fun would that be? You
Please.
get Moira like being the sarky, like annoying receptionist who's always trying to block her from getting appointments. And Dr. Gaddis come out and go, "We haven't had anyone all day. What's going on?" She's like, "No one's good enough to see you, Dr. Gaddis." They're either too sick or they're not sick enough. Anyway, she goes
Moira.
to make a house call, does Dr. Gaddis, and sees the state of the flat. She's concerned about Leanne. Leanne doesn't. She's like, "I just want to sleep.
Leanne's in a dump, isn't she? She's been
down
living in
in
her
the
own
dumps,
filth for the
literally.
past fortnight.
Yeah. She's having a good old cry. And don't know how you've suddenly got so high and mighty. That's what a house looked like 24/7 before we had people coming around to look at it. So, Leanne opens up about the fact that Nick's moving out, and Dr. Gaddis is like, "Aren't you supposed to be in France?" And Leanne says, I can't function as a mother. I didn't want to be around Simon."
Yeah, her thing is that she can't sleep, isn't it? She can't sleep. She wanted to do Simon a favour. She can't look after Simon, so she's
thinks, like, she's grieving. She can't cope. And so Dr. Gaddis gives her some Zolpidem.
Yes, that's right. I looked this up afterwards.
What is it?
It said it was medicine that was prescribed for sleep. It's nothing that exciting. They didn't make it up, basically.
Okay. And she says, "I want you to come to the surgery tomorrow for an appointment, and you need to tell Nick and Simon where you really are."
I think what it really is Leanne's the only one that's been watching the news and realises that we're supposed to be on lockdown.
Yeah, she's like, "Yes."
None have you seen? God, what's going on?
Boris said I had to stay here.
There's a panda.
I was going to go to France,
crazy...
and then I went to book with EasyJet, and they laughed at me and said we weren't allowed to go anywhere.
Yeah.
She's like fallen through to another parallel dimension that we live in.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope Dr. Gaddis falls through as well. So, Leanne goes to fall asleep on the sofa. It's quite weird because it's like she's too sleepy to operate, but she has to take the pills first.
Yeah.
So she's sleepy before she takes them. Maybe she should have just... Has she tried going to sleep without them?
Nature take its course.
Well, she knocks the pills over as she falls asleep.
Classic suicide table there, wasn't it, with the pills
It's a tableau.
scattered?
Yes. So she scatters the pills and falls asleep. Simon gets a text and he phones her up and leaves a worried sounding message.
Yeah, Leanne texts. I think Leanne texts him before she goes off to sleep, so he phones her up.
I thought it was Simon texting her and not getting a response.
I don't think so. I don't know. But anyway, he phones her up and he leaves a worried sounding message on the answer phone saying he misses her.
I love his dear old mum, doesn't he? Don't let Kelly find out. She'll laugh at you and call you a mummy's boy, probably. Kelly is bashing at the furniture shop door at some point on Monday. They're going to Wednesday. They're going to speed dial together, and Kelly's calmed down, but she's anxious about the fact her dad's probably dead, and she knows of all the stuff that he's been up to and the rumours and things, and they've had a really difficult time, and she's got foster parents and she has to go for a curfew there, but they agree to meet up again tomorrow, like a kind of date.
Yeah, so Kelly, it's just that I don't know whether this is the first time that Kelly and Simon have had scenes together, but it seemed that she found it amusing that Simon had been a bit naughty in his past. She's like, I can't believe this. What, you, Simon? Mischief
You're
maker.
not cool like me.
Yeah, you're a massive square.
You're a nerd. I think there's definitely a bias I have against children who have grown up on Coronation Street versus child actors who've come in as like a slightly older teen character, because Kelly and Simon, I'm like, Kelly, you molester, he's a baby. How could you want to date him? But I guess they're similar ages in the show.
I think that Simon's older, because Simon's 17 but Kelly's 16, and actually the actress who plays Kelly is that age. So and Alex Bain is older, isn't he? I think.
Yes,
so he is completely
he's grown up on the show. I'm like, no, leave him alone, you monster. So on Friday, Leanne's drugged up on the sofa. Nick can't get her on the phone. Toya says, "Don't worry about it. She's in France. Everything's fine. Nothing bad happens in France."
Yeah. So it seems that people have been talking to her. And she's just happened to pretend.
She just put on a French accent when she answers the phone.
Nobody's thought to...
Oh, can you put Eva on the phone?
Yeah. You'd have thought that Toya might want to speak to Eva.
Can I speak to so-and-so? What have you been doing today? And now it's like, oh, we bought a baguette.
I guess she just have just been making excuses.
Lying is what she's been doing. Simon's got all dressed up in his best shirt and bathed in aftershave. He goes into the cafe. Shona comes in. She's like, "Pooh, you smell. You need to go and change, and you need to get your mum to get you another shirt." So
No. He says that he's got 2 good shirts.
Yeah, so
one
he's
of them
wearing
is in
one.
the Rovers, and the other one's in Leanne's house, which is why he has to go around.
Yeah, well, she says change, and he says I have to go to my mum's to get me another shirt. So he goes in and finds Leanne on the sofa, and it was really funny because they can't touch each other. So he was just standing at completely the opposite end of the room, going, "Leanne,
Mum,
Mum, wake up!
How many pills have you taken over there? I can't come and comfort you."
The paramedics come in and say, "Have you checked for a pulse?" He's like, "Are you stupid? I'm not allowed to touch her. I poked her with a ruler." So, he phones Nick, can't get through, gets the ambulance. He thinks...
Yet again, there seems to be a bit of a nasty habit that people on Coronation Street have, that they phone somebody else before they phone the relevant emergency services in these sort of situations, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So he's phoned up Nick, then he phones the ambulance. He basically thinks that Leanne's tried to top herself.
Yeah. I mean, Exhibit A, pills scattered on the table. Exhibit B, woman passed out on the sofa. It doesn't really take a genius to put them two together, does it?
Thank goodness for Simon. What did he... No, he didn't get his GCSE results today, did he? Because he's a year older. His mocks, I mean.
Wow. Would anyone be getting them? No, they wouldn't, would they?
What?
Results.
Well, it's just the mocks, isn't it? The mocks that
they
were
still
supposed to have done
having to
before
do
Christmas.
mocks?
Well, they did them before Christmas, didn't they?
I don't know.
The exams...
I thought everything had been cancelled forever.
No,
Everyone gets an A.
No, current...
but it's a trick, because we don't give out A's anymore.
The exams were cancelled relatively recently. Coronation Street wouldn't have known. No,
of course they wouldn't know. So Leanne wakes up in hospital and she's like, "No, I wasn't trying to kill myself. I only took 2, and also, guess what? I'm not in France." I never even left.
Surprise! And
that was a cliffhanger. It's like, yeah, we know. We saw you.
I know. That was a really weak cliffhanger to the...
I was never in France. Dun, dun, dun. That's weird because I thought there was an exact replica of your flat in France that you were in this whole time. I was confused. Meanwhile, Kelly thinks she's been stood up.
Oh, Kelly.
Oh, yeah. Leanne's been let out without treatment. She apologises to Simon. Nick, Sam, what?
My notes make perfect sense here. Nick with Sam and Battersby with their fostering has made her hate them.
What does that mean?
She just says, "Look, I couldn't cope with the fact that Nick's looking after his new son. Couldn't cope with the fact that Imran and Toya are going on with their fostering job.
And then I hate myself. Then I want to disappear. Then I just get sad. Then I sit on my sofa. And then I phone the doctor. And I've just been...
I'm sorry, Simon.
Sitting in a cloud of my own cries and farts for 2 weeks. I'm really sorry." Summer tells Nick that she saw an ambulance outside Victoria Court. He phones Simon because he got a missed call. Kelly thinks she's being stood up. Nick sees her, knew that they were going to have a date, and says, "Well, I don't know why you haven't seen Simon, because he had flowers earlier." Simon and Leanne get home together.
I saw him buying a packet of 3 earlier. I thought you were in there, my son.
No, we'd be talking to Kelly.
My daughter.
Future daughter-in-law. Hopefully not knocked up anytime soon. So they get home. She says, "Don't tell anybody I'm here." Nick comes in and she runs away, like, into the bedroom, like, "Whoa, don't tell anyone." And then
she doesn't do it completely silently either. I mean,
she's like boom, boom, boom.
I think maybe Ben Price should have waited a little bit longer to walk into the room,
Wow.
or the director should have told him to wait.
He's got stuff to do after this scene. He comes in and Leanne stitched Simon up. He's like, "What is going on in here?
Yeah, he's like, oh,
Why
it's
is
me.
there bottles of wine everywhere?" And Simon's like, "I just needed to calm my nerves." It's like, don't become an alcoholic like your dad, will you?
What's like the girliest drink that Leanne could have been swigging and Simon have had to have gone, yeah, it was me.
It's Cosmopolitan.
They probably found all the DVD boxes of all the sloppy rom-coms.
The Notebook, I love it. Simon, after a long hard day at school, Simon likes to come home, open a bottle of woo-woo and watch The Notebook on DVD and cry into his woman-sized Kleenex.
And your washing bin's overflowing with bras
Bras.
and pants, Simon. What is going on? Simon has to say, oh God, oh yeah, how much would he have had to have made up to cover that?
Look, it's okay for him to explore beyond the limited boundaries of gender norms, Michael. Men can have woo-woo and cosmopolitans and enjoy classic rom-com movies about, is it time travel in The Notebook or is it just writing letters?
I don't know, I'm a man.
Of course you are. He's like, what's going on? And Simon has to take the blame and say, I was just stressed so I had some wine. I don't know why Nick's okay with this. But
no, he's not. He's like,
don't tell. I'm not going to tell your
your dad's
mum.
an alcoholic.
Yeah, well, he's not as cross as I would have been if I'd come into a house and there was a teen boy standing there with empty alcohol bottles everywhere and mess all over the place. I might have had a bit more to say to him.
His brother's just died. He's just letting off steam.
You can't start off like that because you just end up doing it for years. So he's like, I chickened out of the date with Kelly, and he's like, look, I think Nick's like, I don't actually care, just tidy up. and
we'll say no more about it.
Yeah, I won't tell anybody. He leaves, Leanne comes out and she's like, oh, thanks, Simon. And Simon says, I'll look after you. Then Kelly phones Simon up and he pretends to be ill and says, I'll make it up to you. And she and Summer are talking on the phone, and Kelly's being really dismissive because she thinks she's been stood up. And
I think Kelly looks like she kind of doesn't know what to do, and it's Summer who shakes her head when Simon says, can we, make up, we do want to meet up again? And Kelly follows Summer like she's suddenly the leader of the Mean Girls.
Yeah, that's really weird. I don't know why Kelly would ever take orders off Summer.
No.
Especially about boys.
I know.
And I also wonder why Summer cares this much. Isn't she like friends with Simon in a kind of oblique, we live near each other kind of a way?
Well,
Wouldn't she be on Simon's side?
She's been more of a friend to Simon than she has than Kelly. But
mind you,
Kelly has been living with them for a little bit. So.
If I knew Simon the way I know Simon in the show, I'd be like, don't date him. He's a psychopath.
Yeah.
He tried to beat his mum up, and they wouldn't even let him in the grey hoodie gang, and they're a bunch of wusses.
Yeah, he got in trouble with the police recently. That's probably
He's a surly little git, is what I would say to her, but then she is as well, so I think they're perfect for each other. Simon makes Leanne tea, and he's worried about her, and Leanne's like, no, I love you, don't tell anybody, and falls asleep. It's really tragic. I felt so bad for Simon, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, I felt bad for Simon. I actually thought that Alex Bain was pretty good this week.
Yeah.
I felt for Simon.
I totally understand.
He's got a bit of a burden, hasn't he?
I totally understand Leanne and why she thinks she's blinded by grief and she's not thinking rationally. I don't know what else. I don't know whether those pills she's taking are clouding her judgment or anything. But really, what a burden to place upon a young boy to expect him to emotionally support you and look after you physically as well. Like, cook your tea, tidy up the house.
Yeah.
She's really leaning on him way too heavily.
That's what I thought. When he came to see her in the hospital and she just collapses and then into tears and...
It's not her fault because she's been holding it in for so long.
It's not.
The only thing that is her fault is not letting Simon get her help, and she's just, I don't know what it is. Is she embarrassed or I don't know. She doesn't want to be around Nick. And
she said, I don't want people to tell me you'll get through this. You're strong. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I understand that.
I just want to
I want to be
wallow on my
allowed
own. Thank
to
you
be
very
sad.
much. I don't
That's
think
the
she
thing
thinks
that
that she's
people
going to
don't-
be there forever. She's
No, this is the thing that people sometimes don't get, is like, you're allowed to be sad, and you have to let people be sad. You can't chivvy them along when something like this happens. They're perfectly entitled to take their time about it. And there is a certain point at which it becomes dangerous, or you start to wonder if they need a bit more help. But Leanne's, it's fresh still. Leanne should be entitled to be sad, and she just needs support. It's just, and Simon can't judge this. He's too young to know what to do.
Yeah,
It's not fair.
no. I think with soaps, there are so many deaths that go on that street. You start to feel a bit like it's a bit of a rotation of how are the relatives going to react?
Ones.
Because we've had people lock themselves away before, like I'm sure Daniel did for a bit, and Tina, obviously, she went into this kind of mode after her dad died.
Well, the thing about Leanne is that she's trying to be strong for other people, and she's trying not to bring people down, because she's in a weird situation where all of her strongest supporters are engaged in activities that trigger her grief more than they would have done, and it's all new to them as well, and she doesn't want to be a downer and upset them, but they can't really devote full attention to her because of their other things that they're doing. It really is it's a really tragic situation.
Yeah, I do wonder how they're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
Because Simon, I can imagine that next week's episodes are going to be Simon having to cover for his mum, but I can't see it being strung out for that much longer.
Yeah, Dr. Gaddis came in, didn't she, when she saw Leanne, and she was saying, Leanne was like, I can't sleep, I need some pills, please help me.
Well,
and Dr. Gaddis was saying, have you tried not drinking tea after 6 o'clock? Have you tried just trying to sleep and close your eyes? Have you tried not being sad?
What Gaddis also said was, you need to come and see me at the surgery tomorrow. And obviously Leanne didn't do that. So I'm guessing, and I hope, because maybe we'll get to see her again on Monday,
Hello, I've come back.
She'll come round and say, well, you didn't make your appointment, or Simon's going to have to...
Yeah, she'd be a bit concerned, wouldn't she?
Yeah, and...
I tell you what, I bet you Dr. Gaddis has so many patients that have relapses, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I have to come in again. Dr. Gaddis is getting worse.
Gaddis. Yeah, Gaddis kind of mentioned to Simon... No, what was it? What did she say to Simon the other day? Like, how's your mum doing or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would think that maybe she might see Toya, especially as she used to be colleagues of Toya's.
Yeah, be like, how's your sister?
Yeah.
Mind you, I don't know about, should you really be going around saying that if you're a doctor?
Well, I think that confidentiality is...
doesn't exist on the site.
different thing entirely.
Well, the thing is, she also said you have to tell other people that you're not in France, and Leanne hasn't done that either.
No.
So Dr. Gaddis could see Toya and be like, what did you say when Leanne said she never went to France?
Oops. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this next week. I just feel really bad for Jane, because I thought that she'd get a break after Ollie died, and nearly 2 months later, and she's still going strong.
She's still crying on the sofa.
She's not had much respite, has she?
The storyline was like, no, you're sad. You're sad the whole time.
That's what makes me think, surely this can't go on for too long, and maybe she actually will go to France for real after this, but I don't know.
Well, soon as what she bigged up, but she was going so much.
Yeah.
She's probably crying because she realises she doesn't have 6 months left on her passport.
One thing that I do think this story is lacking majorly is Steve, who just seems to have disappeared since Ollie died. They made a thing after he died before the funeral of Steve locking himself in his room, and we saw him once or twice, but now it's starting to get really weird that he's not been involved at all in this.
Why would he be involved in Leanne crying in her...
Because he's crying in her flat because she's crying about their son dying.
But he doesn't know... What are you trying to say? He doesn't know she's there.
No, but it's odd how when a child dies, that's obviously awful for the parents, and it seems... And we don't know what it's like for Steve. We don't know how he's dealing with it.
Yes, we do. We saw the scene with him and Tim. I think you're expecting too much, and I also think you're not taking into account that the viewers don't necessarily want to see months and months and months of two different characters grieving over the child. I don't need to see Steve upset. I can imagine that he's upset, and he's channeling it into physical activity. And, you know, people cope in different ways. I don't think Steve was ever that bothered about Ollie, to be honest.
I wonder whether Steve will, you know, be the one to come and help Leanne. Maybe Peter will find out via Simon, and because Peter and Steve are kind of ish friends, maybe.
Well, I'm not bothered.
No, I just think it feels like he's missing. But I mean, lots of people are missing in this story, Les and Janice. But it's been all right. I'm not as into it as I was pre-Ollie dying.
Move on. I'm done.
Time to move on. More Gaddas,
That's what
please.
I said. No, sorry, that's what I meant to say to Leanne.
Johnny Jailbird is a turn up for the books.
Isn't it?
I felt that Wednesday, this story it could have done with a bit of extra screen time, because it only got like 3 or 4 scenes, and the fact that it was building up to this court appearance on Friday, it didn't feel like it got the build up that it deserved. But there was quite an exciting twist, I suppose, when Jenny's has written Johnny this letter, because Jenny's beside herself with worry about the fact that he might get sent down on Friday. So she's written him a letter that says her feelings about him, hands it to him, and he can't read it because it turns out that he can't really see. So his MS has come back with a vengeance, and he said today, didn't he, that he can't see out of one eye and it's blurry in the other eye.
It's horrible.
And but he's still he's still blindly forgetting about it. I didn't mean it to come out like that. And saying that I've got to. Someone's got to pay the piper, he says on Wednesday. I've got to take my punishment. He feels utterly guilty for what happened with Scott, who has been mysteriously absent throughout all of this.
Yeah,
I know that he's got his own separate court case, but they seem to have, the way it's going at the moment, it seems like Johnny was the sole perpetrator of this crime. And just Scott didn't even get a mention.
I know that Jenny's upset, and I know that Johnny is physically deteriorating, and I don't know that he's going to get very good care in prison. But if you kind of take that to one side, I, in a way, perversely think that the best thing that could have happened to Johnny was that he got punished and sent to prison, because his conscience can't cope with feeling as though he's gotten away with this, and he kind of needs to be absolved. I
wonder whether
and sometimes it takes that feeling like you've paid a debt to society in some manner for you to be able to mentally relinquish those feelings about what occurred. He's gonna. I think once he comes out, as long as he doesn't die in there.
I think if you felt responsible for a guy becoming an alcoholic and drinking himself to death, even 8 months behind bars, is that really going to make you think, well...
I think he's going to suffer enough for it to feel like it was a lot longer.
Sure, but it's still one of those things that you're never going to forgive yourself for, is it?
I know, but there's a difference between feeling guilty and like you haven't been punished, and feeling guilty and knowing that you actually did.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like,
anyway.
legally they...
Yeah, I know. I think it's going to take the security guard's mum coming and saying, I forgive you, but I don't know what she would say, but it feels like the absolution needs to come from her. Anyway, Friday, Jenny's distracting herself by doing some grown-up colouring in the Rovers, and Johnny comes down and pretends that his eyes are all better now, but he can't even pick up the right colouring pen when he tries. So Jenny is beyond convinced at this point that he should not be standing trial today, or whatever it is, shouldn't be going to the hearing. He's not in fit state to be able to do it. She's utterly frantic. Carla, meanwhile, seems to be more resigned to the fact that maybe Johnny's going to be sent down. And then we have Daisy making a reappearance, fresh from the tram where she was apparently mistaken for Kendall Jenner. Should I know who that is?
She's like the first woman to ever make money out selling makeup on the internet. You should definitely know about her. She's a pioneer.
Okay, thank you. I'll have to look her up later. Does she look like Daisy?
And she did it all herself as well. But no, she didn't get any help from her family or friends. She, from the ground up, she worked her ass off every single day of her life.
I feel that you're
and
not
wasn't
being
handed it on a
100%
platter
genuine
at
here.
all. And her looks and the way what she's achieved was 100% down to makeup with no plastic surgery or fillers involved.
Okay. So, Daisy
Can I
offers
just say,
to help out.
not
if she
that anyone would
can,
ever
if Johnny
say
goes
this about me, but being compared to is it Caitlyn Jenner in any way whatsoever?
Kendall, I've written Kendall
Kendall,
Jenner.
not Caitlyn. Kendall
Yeah,
would
that's,
make me incredibly upset and go home and wash my face.
Well, Daisy seemed to love it.
Daisy loved it. I really liked this scene because it was so, like, she's so completely off herself and, like, self-obsessed. This was a perfect Daisy scene. I think I'm going to enjoy watching her. She's so narcissistic.
I can't decide yet. I kind of think I will, but in other ways, I think she's a bit too much of a bitch. I don't know whether I like her, and she's too.
Oh yeah, she's a bitch.
And I don't know whether she's really got Jenny's best interests at heart. So I'm obviously very protective of Jenny. I don't know what to say.
Oh no, she's a snake in the grass.
So anyway, nurse comes round later and confirms that he's probably having a relapse. But yeah, sorry, can't get you out of court. I think there's no reason why you shouldn't go, to be honest. Jenny's like, what the heck? He can't even see. And she's like, well, yeah, justice is blind. So,
it's like you
so he'd
can't.
be fine.
I don't know what the nurse could possibly have said. Like, I don't think that the courts work like that.
It's sad, and obviously, you
feel bad for him.
You want to be able to see if you go into prison.
You do a little bit, yeah.
But I'm
Even
sure.
if it's only out of one eye.
Yeah.
But if you've committed a crime and you're sick, you don't just get out of it.
No.
Should have thought about that, shouldn't you?
So Johnny goes and gets his shirt on. Imran comes round and Jenny says to him, look, you've got to make sure the judge knows what Johnny's going through. And Imran's like, I will, but, probably going to go down. And then Jenny tells Johnny about the love letter that she wrote for him, this one from the other episode, and says, I love you and I'm proud of you and I'm proud to be your wife and I'll always love you. And then he goes off to prison. Then she goes and has a little pray.
He doesn't go to prison straight away.
Oh no!
They let him have a trial first.
They do, and she has a little pray, which was odd and not necessarily in character.
So I didn't really get this court case thing. Well, there was no jury.
No, it was.
It was basically like.
That doesn't need to be a jury, does it? Because he's pled guilty
right?
to it. I mean, I imagine.
Do juries didn't only come if they.
Well,
try to get out of it.
What's the point of having a jury if
to decide the sentence? Don't juries decide sentences as well? They don't. I thought they did. I thought the judge was like, right, you can give them this, that, or the other thing.
I don't think so.
They do in America, don't they?
They do.
They definitely do in America.
I don't know.
They do in America.
We've already had a massive Imran court case just a month ago, so this one was condensed down to one scene. In
Weatherfield, a solicitor gets one big court case a year, and it's a 12-month rolling year. So they're like, sorry, Johnny, you can't have a proper trial because he's already just done one.
I was hoping for round 2 of Imran, being the best darn lawyer that Weatherfield has ever seen.
And Imran comes out and the judge is like, I can't believe you've got CCTV footage to back up when this happened so long ago.
Imran's, case is pretty much, he's
and
sick,
Imran
isn't he?
Says,
go on, be lenient, let him off, go on, please.
Imran says, look, I don't have CCTV, but I do have a video of a reconstruction that I made with some plasticine that we bought for a foster child that's now not with us anymore. So if you'd like to watch the screen, I'll show you exactly how it all went down.
To cut a long story short, Johnny gets sent down. He gets 8 months. Which, I mean, maybe 4, that's how it works, isn't it? If I understand TV sentencings of...
Yeah, TV sentencings is like, I'll give him 8 months, he gets out in 4.
Behaviour.
Give him half for good behaviour, gets out in 2. Give that, divide it by 2, carry the 1, he's out in a week.
Yeah. So,
send him down.
Who knows how long he'll be down for. And quite often as well, don't they have it where they're well behaved for, almost the half time, and then they get up to something dodgy.
And then somebody's like, I hate you. I'm going to tell your wife. I'm going to shag your wife.
Yeah, and then
he
goes,
beats them up.
But I don't think Johnny's going to be in a fit state to be beating anyone up in prison, to
Probably
be fair.
not.
So Jenny is just in full-on wobble mode.
Absolutely...
She's she's lost, she's distraught, she's beside herself.
I think the thing about Jenny is that she puts up a good front, but she really is a vulnerable person who is very emotional, and I'm trying to say it in a nice way, but the thing is about it is that a lot of the language around people like that is inherently negative, because we judge people badly if they get upset about things. But I don't think that's right, because this is a really bad thing that's happened to her, and she's absolutely should be able to weep floods of tears if her husband, she's steadily sick about anyway, gets taken into prison where she doesn't know if he's going to get any care.
She absolutely should.
She's totally justified to be an emotional wreck, you know. But like, even that phrase,
wreck is right.
Yeah, but you see, even that phrase, like, she's lost control. Like, we use these words to talk about people who are upset and cry or scream or something, but funnily enough we don't use it when, say, for example, a man gets angry and fights. That's just as emotional. It's just an emotional a response. But because one is, you know, gendered more towards men and one is women, you know, the female response is the weak one, and the man is, you know, it is an emotion, being angry and lashing out.
And it's not like we've not seen this response from Jenny before as well. Yeah. She's not necessarily one to bottle it all in. I mean, think the balcony dangling incident,
I mean,
and I think that Jenny was back in full force today.
I mean, another word that you would use to describe how she is hysterical, and that's another gendered word. That's a negative description of somebody who is sort of overwhelmed emotionally. You just can't escape this kind of like little prison of words and descriptions that seems quite charged against somebody.
Yeah, who's just feeling women, something.
Yeah.
And if things weren't bad enough for her, when she says, "Johnny, I'll come and visit you as soon as I can," and he turns around and says, "Don't." Oh
God, he's such an annoying martyr, isn't he?
He was.
I really got annoyed with him when he said that. It was so typical of him to sort of go, "Oh, I'll spare her feelings," but in doing so, I'm only going to push her away.
And it was like, Daisy brings up later when he says, "Oh, he was going to divorce her a couple of months ago for her own good."
Yeah, it's really patronising.
He just wants to, you know, be punished.
He's just being dramatic.
Yeah, in a drama. How dare he? She goes home. How's he going to get through this? How's she going to get through this? Looks like Daisy's going to hang around and help out in the pub. Jenny at first says...
useful.
First Jenny says don't, and then she says to Carla, "Oh no, maybe it'd be nice to have her around on the staff, so watch out there." And
all the way through this, we haven't mentioned Carla at all, but she's been sitting there shooting daggers.
She does not like Daisy, does she?
She hates Daisy so much. Daisy is... The thing is about Daisy is that she's very concerned with her looks, and she's a very frivolous person who seems to be quite superficial. I hate to say this, Carla doesn't look like she fell out of bed, does she? She's always immaculately groomed and put together. I kind of don't like it when a woman spends a lot of time on her looks, but doesn't like it when other women talk about it and acts like they're superior. It's like, you both spend the same amount of money on makeup, don't pretend.
It's because Daisy's like, 20 odd years her junior, and Carla's maybe a little bit jealous of that.
Well, let's not say it like that. I don't think so. That's sexist.
No, it's not.
She's not threatened by her looks.
I don't know.
I don't think that Carla's threatened by her looks. I think she just thinks that she's a vacuous moron, which she is. But what I'm saying is, Carla, look in the mirror, love. Oh, too late, you already do. Almost all the time. Because you're good looking, I would be looking in the mirror as well.
The last scene that we get of this, which I thought was very, very well acted, was Johnny on his bed in prison, also having a bit of a breakdown.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it to either have the old, the cell door close up and the little window slid across, or waiting for somebody to walk into the room, either new cellmate, Big Bruiser, or, one of the many Coronation Street characters who are in prison. See my predictions on the Predictions podcast for more thoughts about that.
It's me, Scotch Tommy.
No, what? So Johnny's in the slammer. And
will we see his journey?
Johnny's journey. I think yes. I mean, if they've made such a big thing about him having MS, then it feels like that would be quite interesting to explore. It feels like they're not going to not show it and go, because Jenny's like, how's Johnny going to cope? And if they don't show us how he copes, then it's like, well,
we'll tell you later.
Probably fine then. I'm making a big hoo-ha out of nothing, Jenny. Such a drama queen.
Yeah.
So, and we know that they have got a prison set there. So why not? Could be good. And Johnny just feels like he's had nothing to do. I'm kind of quite excited for him to have his own story, and it will literally be his story, because everybody else in it, his neighbours and everything, will be unknown characters. And
this is exactly
it's going to be him, centred around him.
This is exactly the issue with the story, is that they're going to have to either bring back somebody who's in the prison, or they're going to have to invent a whole new character for him to be a confidant of Johnny, which they've done before in the past. I mean, that's how Graham Proctor came in the show.
That's how Paul came in the show. Yeah,
sometimes it works really well and you get a nice new character that,
And we had Yasmin's cellmate for a couple of weeks last summer, didn't we?
Don't worry, I'll glass her for you.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. I'm also heartbroken for Johnny. Don't you? Isn't this just horrible to watch? Him kind of deteriorate physically. This is like one of my worst nightmares.
I know, and it feels like is he going to come back from this? He's having a relapse, but is he going to get better
enough to know? Like, I know that it comes and goes, but
they said that when Johnny was diagnosed, didn't they?
But does it like, will he be able to see out of his eye again?
I don't know, and that was interesting as well, because they made that thing about him not being able to see when his wife was hit by the car.
It's horrible. This is the thing, like, medical things, I find them so depressing. The inescapable, monstrous decline of somebody who's going through something like this is a nightmare. I can't imagine. It terrifies me. And I hate watching this, and especially to Jenny and Johnny, it's really sad.
I know, because we love them. I mean, I'm really keen to see what happens to Jenny. Like, is she going to be able to steel herself to keep the Rovers running?
I hope
because it's on her shoulders now, isn't it, to keep that pub going? Well, is Daisy going to try and infiltrate?
Daisy's going to ruin everything.
Yeah,
she's not going to help. She's like an agent of chaos.
Is the Rovers going to fall into ruin? Like you said,
are there going to be mice running around?
I don't know. I don't know whether I want to see Jenny blubbering, and they're using that negative language again.
I'm not trying to criticise anybody. Can I just be clear?
8 months.
I'm not criticising anybody for using this language, and we've talked before about gendered language and how it shapes the way you think about things without you really even realising it. And I certainly want to demonise anybody who does it. We had that whole thing where I went on a rant about, battle axe is a sexist term, and then I use it myself. All you have to do, personally, this is what I think, just be aware of it. If you're aware of it, you can examine the stereotypes that are in your own mind, and kind of, that's one step closer to kind of maybe defeating them. But we're not gonna do it in, it's gonna take generations of people talking about these things, but you have to talk about them. And like I say, it's not anybody's fault, and I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying, think about it a bit more. Yeah.
One of the things that I would say to Jenny, though, were I to be giving her advice, is that
she's come to you to help, has she?
Well, maybe it's not advice. Maybe it's I told you so that I'm giving her. But Johnny's been trying to talk to her about this for months, and whenever he's brought it up, she's been like, "Don't want to talk about that now. Don't worry, it'll be fine. No, let's not talk about this." And maybe if she had talked to him about it, she might be
don't look at it.
Maybe she'd feel a bit more reassured, or maybe she would. Is she also regretting now that she hasn't spent much time with him for the past few months? She's been avoiding spending any time with him. Maybe I don't want to say you brought it on yourself, Jenny, because it's not her fault that she's in this problem, but it is a shame that she's been blocking him out.
It's a sad inevitability, isn't it? Like, she sort of engineered the things she was afraid of, in a sense, and this is like the tragedy of human beings in general. that often what we fear we bring about ourselves through inaction or perhaps taking the wrong action.
Yeah.
And, you know, does she even know where the VAT information is?
The thing is,
does she know how to get to the wholesaler?
She ran the pub by herself for a bit last year, didn't she? When Johnny refused to get back from France.
It.
She is, but that was when she was in a bit more of a fit mental state, and I know she was narked that Johnny was staying over.
Well, she was doing it as like a screw you kind of a thing in the end.
Yeah.
Whereas now, what she got, you know, it would be easy for her to surrender into sorrow and not try.
Mm.
I think honestly,
the Rovers staff currently is so like weak.
It's like Emma, Gemma,
Sean, maybe
Carla, and Daisy.
Yeah, all just kind of mucking in there. It just doesn't feel like it's there's anybody.
And the thing is about it is that Daisy is a sort of a thoughtless. Like, she throws support in a thoughtless manner at Jenny and says what she thinks Jenny wants to hear, or like she's like, oh yeah, Johnny's no good for you anyway, babe. You should just not worry about it, not think about him. Blah 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 blah. Is she trying to get her back with her dad or something? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
And also, here's
maybe.
the other question: Daisy is her stepdaughter.
Yes.
Was the boy, I've forgotten the
Tom.
name, her brother or half brother?
I don't know.
Because that's a good question, I think. Because we know the backstory of Jenny when she wasn't in the show was that she had a husband. Never mentioned Daisy before now, but we know she had a small boy child called Tom, who was left in a paddling pool for like, you know, seconds and drowned and died. And then she went off the rails slightly, to say the least, and got divorced and things, and the relationship fell apart. Be interesting to wonder if Daisy's what?
Is she here to get vengeance?
Is Daisy pretending to be nice, but she's actually always blamed Jenny for her brother's death?
I really do get the impression that Daisy doesn't like Jenny as much as Jenny thinks she does, and Jenny has been incredibly blind to some of Daisy's nastiness. Not all of it, because like she told her to watch her tongue like at Christmas on Christmas Day.
Yeah, but she's really indulgent of her.
Yeah, she really
and like
is.
Even when she was going, oh yeah, she said this guy said I look like Kendall Jenner. Like Jenny was looking at her like, yeah, you do. You look so much like Kendall Jenner. So beautiful, Daisy. Whereas, like, most people, even if it was their daughter, would be like, eat. He was on drugs, maybe.
Right, let's move on. We got a couple of little mini stories left, haven't we? Confessions of a Window Cleaner, Gemma, Gary, Faye. What's going on? Gary's
in a cell.
Next.
Maybe he'll be cellmates with Johnny.
I don't know. No, he's in prison. He's in the police station cell, wasn't he?
Gary's in jail and Johnny's in prison.
I don't know. Gary and Johnny, they don't have any link.
You're just trying to make it so that your prediction comes true, and I'm going to predict that Gary and Johnny become cellmates. Don't forget,
they could be good thrown together.
Don't forget that. No, I don't think that. I can't see that working. But
okay, so Gary dropped a roof on Rana, who was getting married to Johnny's daughter. So there's the link. Come on, what's been going on?
Is Gary in the cell at the police station?
Yes.
So because don't forget, Yasmin was on remand, so she wasn't actually.
Oh no, but he does go to prison later, doesn't he? Because Faye goes to visit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gary's in the cell. Oh God. This is hard. It's harder than it should be.
It's because it was Monday. It was like years ago.
Faye has a go at Craig for arresting her brother, and Craig's like, "You wait. I'm not going to stop there. I'm not going to arrest until I've arrested every single person on the street." And you know what? There's always somebody doing something wrong. I bet you he could find something to arrest everyone for.
Yeah.
She says, "I know he didn't do it," and everyone's like, "Why are you so sure?" And she's like, "No reason in particular."
Yeah, this was the theme of Monday, wasn't it? Her falling just short.
Just to remind everybody,
how she knows.
She knows because it was her what done it, and I can't.
By
wait.
it, you mean bashed Adam on the head and left him for dead.
That would be it. Maria comes home and says Gary's been put on remand. That's what I just said. She's saying, "Oh no, I'm so sad. I'm upset." Oh no.
Excellent podcasting.
This is why I'm not an actress. Oh no. Yeah. Faye's upset. She's worried and thinking if she's robbing Gary of his life, he can't see his kids, I'm going to confess. And Mary says, why don't you go and talk to him and tell him this, but keep your bloody voice down, for God's sake. So she goes to visit him. He says, look, you and I are both where we should be. I'm not a saint. Maybe I had it coming. Have you ever seen Chicago? And he tells her that he can't let her throw her life away. Craig tries to make up with Faye in the cafe, and she's really shifty about it when he's like, why did you say that Gary didn't do it? Then R. Kelly comes over to Craig and Faye and says, Gary killed my dad. And then Faye's like, no, he didn't. And that's it. Yeah. I want to see Faye punch Kelly in the face so badly.
Yeah, that was that. Well, I've got nothing particularly much to say about that, but it does... maybe if rereading that does make me think that maybe we will see Gary and Johnny in prison together, because it would be weird.
It's so obvious.
It'd be weird for them to not have scenes together, considering they're both in prison and assuming it's the same prison. But the only reason I didn't think about it is, they don't really have much.
No, and also common. I can't really see them getting on.
No,
I can't see there being much. What's the word?
You think just because we're in the same show, it doesn't mean that we're going to be best buddies in the cells or whatever.
Yeah, there are some there are loads of great characters and they're great in their own right, but when you put them with another character, I can just see what would be the point of that. I can't imagine them. No. And Gary and Johnny don't seem like they will spark off each other. Two opposing magnets that they're both flying away from one another. But I would like to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
I certainly would be interested to see a scene with them in it. I just can't see it being that good.
No, I totally know what you mean. Okay then, so finally we also had a bit of Alahan stuff this week. They're getting their mocks.
So yeah, on Friday, Dev says, the good thing about Asha is that she's so smart.
Look, she's got glasses and everything.
There's no way she'll get bad grades, and Ardy is the thick one in the family.
Yeah.
Anyway, children, off you go.
Foreshadowing alert. So, we find their results later. I don't know why they didn't open their results at school like normal people, but instead they take them back to speed dial to open them.
This is when people across the country who don't have children in school at this age go, what? So numbers?
Ardy got 5 7s, 2 6s and an 8 in biology, whereas Asha got 2s, 1s and a U. I get the U. The higher the number, the better the grade, I guess this means.
Why?
Higher is best. Bigger is better.
Number 1 is good. Number 7 would be bad if I was doing this.
Well, yeah.
You know why they've done that though, don't you?
Just to screw with us.
They're going to do to you guys what they do to us, where you're like, yeah, everyone gets A's, brilliant. And then they're like, aha, what about an A star?
I know. When they put an A star for the A levels, it just makes all our A levels look rubbish.
Yeah, why don't you get an A star? Because they weren't invented. So what they're going to do is they're going to be like, oh, well, now we're going to do 8s and 9s. And then everyone's going to be like, oh, you only got a 7?
Yeah.
And then the ones will be like, not even worth it.
Yeah, this you pointed out that this is a little bit like when Lucille got her exam results and Annie didn't
understand them, and she was like, oh dear.
Yeah, Annie Walker and Lucille Hewitt.
Yeah.
And
I was watching it going, how could you not know, you silly old cow? How could you not know what the grades mean? And now I'm like, what is a 7? Why is Ardy pleased with a 7?
So Ardy blames Corey for his sister's poor performance because...
Corey's there as well, by the way.
Yeah, and so's Kelly waiting for a date with Simon.
And he's looking there, like, happy. He's, like, thrilled.
Corey doesn't seem bothered or surprised by this. He also says something like, oh, well, Ash has been picking up more practical skills recently.
That's
if you know
disgusting,
what I mean.
You horrible pervert.
Yeah, so they go around...
He's the sex case.
He is. They go around and see Dev and... first we have Dev opening Ardy's results and going, I'm so proud of you, my boy.
You're not just a stupid idiot.
It's time for Asha.
If you've got 7s, I can only assume Asha's going to get 10s.
Yeah, but obviously not. And he's taken aback a little bit But fair play to him. He's like, look, we won't say anything about it tonight. Let's just do whatever you want tonight.
Why didn't you tell me?
But he's just feeling guilty about not realising that she was struggling. But she's not told anyone. Even Ardy knew that she was doing badly.
I felt so bad for Ardy here.
Do you think that wearing those glasses were just part of the disguise to make everybody think that she was doing fine and that she was smart?
I have to tell you...
She did only start wearing those, 3-4 months ago.
That you certainly do get away with people thinking you're smart when you wear glasses a lot of the time.
But then when you wear a tie that only comes up half your top, like
Ashley
was
today.
today.
One of them Centrenian girl people. So I felt bad for Archie here. This felt very much to me like another example of him being overshadowed by Asher. And even and they didn't go into this at all, because he kind of took it on the chin, bless him. He's obviously used to just her getting all the attention all the time. But for the first time in his life, he does something great, and he's got good grades, and nobody expected it of him.
Well, basically...
He brings it to his dad, and Dev's like, great, wonderful. And then he sees Asher's results and goes, oh no, poor Asher, we have to look after you, and you can pick a takeaway. And Aldi's like, huh? Wait, it's my day. Just because she did rubbish.
I mean, up until his recasting last year, Ardy was the thickie, wasn't he?
He was like the shadow.
Yeah,
that followed Asher around.
It's just like suddenly, so at some point last Easter, the 2 brain cells that he had buzzing around in his head suddenly clicked together, and then sparks flew, and then he suddenly became a genius.
Well, I don't know what happened. I think,
It's interesting that his character has totally changed, and we're very accepting of it. Yes, Summers has changed, and it's like...
That's because he's become more interesting, and Summer has become less interesting.
He's grown a personality where he never had one before.
Yeah.
Summer had a personality, and now she's become generic.
She's gone lobotomised.
She's just become generic mean girl teen.
I know. So yeah, I wonder whether they're going to look... Because I don't really know much about sibling dynamics, and I certainly don't know what it's like to be a twin. I've never been...
Never been a twin.
No, I've never been.
I'm going to
Can I just finish? I've never been I've always been the older one, because I had foster siblings, and I was the oldest one, and I was the cleverer one, and I never had to compete with my siblings. But for Ardy, they probably are quite competitive. And then he finally gets one over on her, and it doesn't even get acknowledged. And he's already a bit bitter with her about the fact that he, at school, they had to move schools because of her. And a stupid Corey. And now Corey's like, and she's still hanging around him and throwing her life down the drain. And not only, he has to watch her being an idiot for a stupid boy, and he's not getting acknowledged for all the good work that he's doing. Yeah. I feel really bad for him.
No, I do as well. That's what they want us to think, isn't it?
I don't know. I thought that really got glossed over.
No, I think I've been getting undertones of Ardy's being overlooked.
Yeah, but
over these past 6 months.
When Dev was saying, when Asher goes off and Dev's left there, he's like, says to Ardy, Ardy, we have to keep an eye on her and look after her. And Ardy kind of looks like, I've been a bad brother. I guess maybe I'm just self-absorbed. I'd be like, Dad, what about me? I want to pick the takeaway. It's not fair.
No, I didn't get that. I think he's feeling pretty hard done by.
I also think it's a big mistake for Dev to... I mean, I know that, brothers feel protective and everything, but I do think, and it obviously, you would be like, look out for her and stuff, but I do think it's a bit of a mistake to kind of make Ardy feel in any way that he's responsible for Asher, because he's the kind of guy that's going to take that completely the wrong way and think he's a sheepdog and she's a sheep. You know what I mean? And she's not going to listen to a word that he says. I don't think that she thinks much of him.
No, I think Ardy's one. I think you need to watch out for Ardy. I think he's going to go postal on someone with his golf clubs or something.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Don't be like you're responsible for your sister. Because he was like, yes, Dad.
Well, it's their birthdays coming up soon, so I'm sure that there'll be plenty of drama come mid-January. But who knows what. And that's it. That is this week's Corrie. So I know what I thought about it. I told you at the beginning, I thought the week started very strong. Wasn't as fussed about it today. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but there was to me, there was an awful lot to like there, really. I'm going to unashamedly give it 4 unwelcome pricks out of 5, which is what you get if you have a cactus in your bathroom at night.
What did you give it?
4.
4?
Only just a 4. It's more, 3.5 to a 4, but I'm sticking on my 4 because I want to defend this week, so I just get a feeling that people are going to be voting it lower.
Oh.
We had a protest. We had baby stuff with Michael, which was cool. We had Evelyn and
stuff.
Arthur.
Yeah, I really like that. I liked. Yeah, you're right. There was some good stuff. What shall I give it?
Great script
then?
on Monday.
I might give it. Go away, Abby. I might give it.
You've been distracted by stroking the cat here.
4 drooping cacti, which is very similar.
Yeah, it's similar to mine. That's fine.
I'm allowed.
That's fine. Character of the week wise.
I'm gonna give it to Grace.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
That's right. I gave it to Grace.
What's she done to deserve it?
Because it's the potential. I'm seeing so much potential in this storyline. I really liked rehabilitated Grace, and I liked how desperate she was to win Aggie's approval, and her wild-eyed, earnest appeal to Aggie to please don't judge me, and her saying this baby's your family as well, and all this stuff. And I'm so excited for Aggie and Grace to just be at loggerheads for the rest of their lives. And giving the Baileys a bit of a spark, Yeah.
No, that's a really good reason. I'm going to... This is another one of those weeks where I could have a number of reasons for a number of characters, but I think I'm going to settle on Roy because of him fighting for the street on Monday, giving his speech, standing up, against Ray and Debbie, going on his float. I could give it to Abby, couldn't I? But I feel like I could give it to Abby too often, and Roy not enough for what a great character he is. But for him, in fighting up for his cause, and all the stuff with the nocturnal squirrels with Evelyn at the end of Wednesday's episode, which I enjoyed.
Sweet friendship.
As I say, there were lots of people that I could choose. I could go for Abby. I could go for Arthur. I could go for Evelyn. I could go for Simon.
I also felt bad for Simon. I was going to say that because the burden he feels, and he's he went through that dark patch when he was a teen, when he was abusing her, but he's always he's been the man in Leanne's life.
Yeah.
Since he were a little lad.
Constant.
He probably feels very responsible for her. And now he's older, he probably thinks he can take on a bit more of a responsibility and a burden. But, it's sad to watch somebody struggling with something, what they think is their duty, when it isn't at all. And I feel like he's an honourable little guy.
We have seen the maturing of Simon over the past year or two. And, I mean, he's gonna turn 18 this year as well. So, I guess, his little size growing up.
Aww.